Chapter 1038. Wu Huifei was also stunned. She had just heard that Xiaobei and the others had failed to apply for a loan. How did the loss of 3 million strings of cash turn into 5 million strings of cash? Was it so easy to get money? Damn the manager of the bank. Look at what he has done to Xiaobei and the others. 3 million strings of cash is too much for Xiaobei and the others. I'll talk to His Majesty later. Empress Wang was not happy. She felt sad when she thought of Xiaobei and the others struggling for money. Other people's children were so old that they would hug their relatives and act like a spoiled child. But Xiaobei and the others had to work hard by themselves. The more Empress Wang thought about it, the sadder she felt. She said angrily, Xiaobei and the others are too much. They insist on raising money by themselves. I'll remember it and ask someone to ask. See which company or group refuses to help them. They made Xiaobei feel bad for a while, but I'll make them feel bad for a lifetime. Wang Wan smiled. Mother, you don't have to do this. Who made Xiaobei feel bad? They will do it themselves. I guess you'll see them when we reach Hangzhou. Xiaobei's revenge is Xiaobei's business. I'm just thinking about it. You and Xiaobao can't disappoint your younger siblings. And His Majesty, if he doesn't help this time, what will he do when Xiaobei sees him? Cuckoo, why do you think Xiaobei and the others need money? Empress Wang was still unwilling to let it go. In her opinion, it was a sin for anyone to not smile when they saw Xiaobei. People who didn't love cute children were not good people. Wang Wan shook her head. If they don't say Xiaobao and I won't ask. We don't want to dispel their enthusiasm. Children are often more persistent than adults. What if they lose money? Wu Huifei asked. That depends on what Xiaobei and the others plan to do. If they still insist, they will take the initiative to negotiate with me and Xiaobao. Xiaobao and I will transfer the debt to them. They won't dare to ask for it. If they don't accept it, it will affect their cash flow. If they don't insist, they will remain silent, which means that they don't care about the loss. This is the right of children. Xiaobao and I will help them pay off the debt. Xiaobao is in trouble. He has to guide his younger siblings to pick themselves up and continue to do business. He wants them to get up where they fell. Wang Wan said with a smile. Haha, this consort finally understands why Xiaobei and the others are so smart. It's because they have the best older brother and sister in the world. Cuckoo. Let's talk about military matters. Empress Wang pulled Wang Wan and began to talk about the knowledge of war. Zhang Xiaobao also received the news. Li Longji, who was holding a bowl of wine, spat it all over the grill. It's fine, it's fine. I don't think it's dirty at all. Xiaobao, do you think I'm dirty? Li Longji coughed a few times and said embarrassedly. Zhang Xiaobao picked up the vinegar beside him and sprayed it on the prawns. I don't mind, Your Majesty. You don't know that under normal circumstances, when you eat seafood, you have to dip it in vinegar, especially prawns and crabs. They are very refreshing. There are also some that are dipped in ginger foam. You can try some later. Okay, I'll take it that you don't mind. Alright, I've already sprayed it, so why are you still spraying it? Since you asked, I'll let you eat all of it, Li Longji said gloomily. Zhang Xiaobao put down the vinegar and looked at the prawns on the grill. The fish is almost ready. I'll grill it for you later. Come, Your Majesty, let me toast you. Li Longji drank the remaining wine in the bowl, smacked his lips, and said, 3 million strings of cash is gone. But before I could ask them to support them, they actually immediately got 5 million strings of cash. They're clearly showing off to the great Tang Bank. This is just like your family's style. You get stronger when you meet the strong. Of course, I'm Zhang Xiaobao's younger brother and sister, and I'm like a kite. The more difficult the situation, the more I'll be able to soar into the sky. Cuckoos, and my mission is to do well on that string. Zhang Xiaobao said with a smile. Then he asked the inner courtyard who came to deliver the news. Who has made a deal now? In response to your question, there's the Li family's Thunderbolt Logistics, the Yang family's Dongting Aquatic Products, the Gu family's Splendid Sundry Goods, and the other 4 are reporting to the owner of the main store. The strength of the first 3 is about the same, so it won't take too long to come to a conclusion. The inner courtyard answered with a proud look on his face. Hey, they're all big guys, and they're specifically looking for the top 100 companies of the Great Tang. Li Longji knew who they were as soon as he heard the names. Thank you for your praise, Your Majesty. The young master and the young lady are not ordinary businessmen. The inner courtyard was as happy as if others had praised him. Write down the details of their negotiation and show them to us. I don't know how they negotiated, but I think they shouldn't use their identities. Although their identities also play a big role, it's only a guarantee, not an oppressive one. Zhang Xiaobao wanted to get detailed information immediately and see how his younger brother and sister did it. Yes, remember it well, and find out the purpose of their money. Li Longji also said. He picked up a shrimp and ate it. It was so sour that he frowned. Shuzhou, in front of the branch of the Qiantang Marine Products Group. This is a joint store opened by 22 businessmen of the Jiangnan East Road. The flagship store is in Hangzhou, and the manager of the branch in Shuzhou is surnamed Sunday. Among the 22 businessmen, the biggest shareholder is the owner of a large fleet, also surnamed Sunday. The inner courtyard flipped through the information and introduced the 11 people to Beibei. Beibei nodded and waved her small hand. Let's go inside and talk. I don't believe that without Butcher Zhang, I have to eat hairy pigs. I'm scared if they don't give me a loan. After that, Beibei led the way in, followed by the other 10 people. As soon as they entered the door, they smelled a fishy smell. The store was not small. There were 4 rows of containers for customers to see, with 10 containers in each row, for a total of 40 containers. The containers were filled with dried shrimps, squid, dried kelp, clams, fish fillets, shrimps, and other seafood. They were divided into different sizes and varieties. There were 4 salespeople standing behind each row of containers. When they saw a group of children suddenly enter, their eyes lit up. They secretly thought that a big deal was coming. Just by looking at the clothes of this group of children, they knew that they were from rich families. The aura they exuded also proved this point. Then they were shocked. Although they were dressed well, the cute golden embroidery pattern on their chests was too scary. The little ancestors of the Zhang family and Wang family were here? When the salesperson guarding the door saw the pattern, he turned around, stepped forward, and ran upstairs. He shouted as he ran, "Manager son, they're here. Not good, they're here. Quick, come down, manager son." Beibei and the others were very natural. It seemed that they were used to it. Beibei strolled to a container filled with fish fillets and stood on tiptoe to take a look. The 4 salespeople in the row quickly came over and stood respectfully. "Can I taste it?" Beibei pointed at the fish fillets and asked. "Can I taste it?" Beibei saw that the 4 of them did not speak, so he asked again. "Ah, taste. Okay, let's taste it. Ah, wait a moment, you eat this." One of the salespeople reacted and nervously finished the sentence. He suddenly turned around and took out a delicate wooden box from a small cabinet behind him. He opened it and took out a piece of fish fillet and presented it to Beibei. The fish fillet was wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. The entire fish fillet was light yellow in color. The edges were not scattered, and there were no thorns in the center. It was thin and tough. When Weiwei moved, the entire fish fillet gently trembled. Beibei took the fish fillet and placed it on top of the other fish fillets in the container. He first smelled it, then pinched one side of the fish fillet with his hand and gently pulled. That small piece of fish fillet was pulled down along the grain. Beibei put it in his mouth and chewed. He nodded with satisfaction and shouted behind him, "It's time to eat the fish fillet. Juner, Panner, come quickly." The 10 children all came over and tore the fish into pieces. Delicious. Loose but not scattered, tough but not hard. Salty and sweet, fresh but not fishy. It's just like what we eat at home. Qiantang seafood. It lives up to its reputation. I'll buy it. How much is it? Little Yuan commented as he ate and asked the seller how much it was sold. It's worth a lot to be praised by Little Yuan and Little Young Master. Take out all the high-quality fish fillets in the shop. We'll let the Little Young Master and the ladies give us some face and take it away. Following the voice, 3 people came down quickly from upstairs. One of them was the receptionist who had just shouted and ran up the stairs, followed by 2 others. One of them was so tall that it shocked Beibei and the other children. He was short, dark, and had an asymmetrical figure. When he looked at people, there was always a trace of fierceness in his eyes. The one who spoke was another person wearing a long robe. He was around 50 years old, and had a third of the hair on his temples and head. He was full of smiles. He cupped his hands and bowed to Bebe and the others. Bebe returned the greeting and said, "We're not here to ask for anything. We'll eat this fish fillet. You can keep the rest and continue to sell. We're not officials today, and we're not representing the Zhang family and Wang family. We're just here to discuss business with you." Well said, well said. Hurry, honored guests, please come upstairs. You still have to bring the fish fillets. Do us the honor. The person still had a warm smile on his face. He didn't care what Bebe said about representing or not representing anyone, because he knew that if he didn't receive them well, not only would Bebe's brother and sister not agree, but even his own boss wouldn't accept it. Bebe smiled embarrassedly. "You're making it seem like we're here to rob you. Hee shopkeeper's son, please." The group of people went upstairs. The people below quickly took out the high-quality fish fillets. The seller didn't feel bad at all. It was a great honor to accept gifts. Upstairs, shopkeeper Sun Yang arranged for Bebe and the others to sit down and asked, "What do you want to drink? Hot milk or fruit juice?" Drink plain water." Bebe didn't like the fruit juice and milk quality, so he didn't want to drink it. Sun Yang also understood and nodded. Someone brought plain water, and a fruit platter made of dried fruits and seasonal fruits was placed on the small table. The fruits in the fruit platter were all cut open without any carvings. They were scattered on the side, and there were bamboo skewers for the fruits. There was a saying here: if you gave someone unpeeled and carved fruits, it wouldn't be convenient for them to eat them, so they wouldn't eat them. Instead, they would scatter them, making it seem casual. Only then would they be able to eat them. It was the same for dried fruits. If you didn't prepare something to specifically put the shell and core, then it would be no different from pouring tea until it was about to overflow. Bebe had Xiao Yuan, and the others look after Pan and the younger ones. He took out a piece of paper from his bag and said to Sun Yang, "Shopkeeper son, we've come to disturb you this time because we want to sign a cooperation agreement with your bank. We'll provide the proposal, and you'll be responsible for the investment. Take a look at the content first." After saying that, Bebe asked someone to pass a piece of paper over. Sun Yang took it, but didn't open it. Instead he asked, "Boss Zhang, Shopkeeper Zhang, how much do you want us to pay?" "At least 1 million strings of cash. Don't consider my family in our official position. This is business. Please." Bebe stretched out a finger and made a drawing gesture, then let Sun Yang continue to read the content. Sun Yang still didn't look and stretched out 3 fingers. 3 million strings of cash. My Tang Ocean Products Group agrees. When will the money be used? My company will transfer it over at any time. 3 million strings of cash? Can your shopkeeper make the decision? I'm not doubting you, but the amount is too big. Bebe was surprised. The strange-looking person beside Sun Yang spoke. "Sun Yang, you can only transfer 50,000 strings of cash. I'm here to patrol, and have to watch over Brother Sunday. I don't agree." "What do you do?" Bebe was unhappy. This person was randomly interrupting. "I'm a good brother of the company's largest shareholder, the owner of the independent trading fleet. I help him patrol Tang. I've seen your emperor before," this person said arrogantly. "You patrol Tang? How come I don't know?" "Shopkeeper son." Bebe was angry. Where did this inspector come from? When Sun Yang saw Bebe's dark expression, he hastily said, "Oh, my little ancestor, he's not patrolling Tang. He's the branch of Tang Ocean Products in Tang. His name is Shan Tusher. Our boss brought him back from the new island. Don't misunderstand." After speaking to Bebe, Sun Yang said to the person called Shan Tusher, "You're tired of living. Don't get me in trouble. This is the little ancestor of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Let me put it this way. Luzhou's business association belongs to them. You know the Hurricane Battalion, right? It belongs to them." Shan Tusher's eyes widened. His mouth was wide open, and his body began to tremble. After a while, he shook his head with all his might. With a thud, he knelt in front of Bebe. As he kowtowed, he said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I won't fight back or move when you hit me." "Shopkeeper son, is he crazy?" Bebe was confused. Shantusher, get up. He's annoying. Get up and talk properly. Sun Yang pulled Shantusher up. Shantusher was still looking at Xiao Bei and the others. He said, "You saved my life." The Hurricane Battalion called for artillery support and fired into the forest from the sea. We called for air support. A group of people flew over and killed all the people who chased after me and Brother Sunday. Good job. Good job, Great Tang. Now I am also a member of the Great Tang. The Great Tang also protected me, just like how it protected Brother Sunday. But we have a promise. Oh, so you're someone who was saved by the Hurricane Battalion. Bei knew what was going on. He waved his hand casually and said, "Don't worry. You don't have to kowtow to thank me. I don't think they saved you. They saved the people of Tang. Anyone born in Tang is a citizen of Tang from the moment of birth. Tang has to protect them, because they will have to do things for Tang in the future and pay taxes. My brother and sister said that the people of Tang worked hard for the stability, prosperity, and strength of Tang. How can Tang leave the people alone without help and without care for their lives? No matter where Tang's military power can reach, even if it's a dog, it can't be beaten by anyone. If you kill one of my people, I'll slaughter your village. The world is so big, it's hard to find a place where you can't hide. I won't rest until I'm dead. Yes. On the new island, the 3 tribes around my tribe attacked me. Those who didn't surrender and work for me were all killed. I also saw you, it's our emperor. You kowtowed many times, and the emperor rewarded me with many things. But I forgot to praise your Hurricane Battalion. Next time, if there's a chance, I'll take you to see the emperor. The emperor is very easy to talk to. You're so good-looking, interesting. The emperor will like you." Shantusher nodded repeatedly and made a promise. Sun Yang covered his face with his hands and didn't dare to look at Bei and the others. Bei sighed and said, "Okay, there will be a chance in the future. The emperor is my father." Pan who was eating the pear slices that Xiao Yuan fed her, pointed at herself and said when she heard others mention the emperor, Yes, he's our good Pan father." Bei followed Pan words and said, when Pan happily continued to eat the pear, he said to Sun Yang, "Shopkeeper son, you should look at the content of the cooperation. We don't want money. We want you to invest." I can't explain it clearly. Isn't this still asking for money? Look. Sun Yang immediately picked up the paper and flipped through it as fast as he could. He nodded. "I've read it. Very good. We agree to cooperate. 3 million strings of cash." When Bei saw Sun Yang's action, he was so angry that he took 2 deep breaths. He pouted and said, "Let's go, we'll change to another company. We won't cooperate with Qiantang Sea products anymore. We don't want anything." Xiao Yuan and the others stood up at the same time and planned to leave. Sun Yang was shocked. He rushed over and opened his arms. Don't go, I'll read it seriously. If the conditions are not good enough, we won't invest a single copper coin. How about it?" Shantusher also stretched out his arms to stop them. He wanted to wait until the matter was over, and then treat them to a meal to thank them properly. Xiao Yuan, who acted as a mediator, advised Bei, "Why don't we wait? We are businessmen, we don't care about money, right?" Only then did Bei sit back down. He calmed down and said to Sun Yang, "Please." Sun Yang solemnly picked up the paper and slowly flipped it open. He wanted to take a good look. He did not dare to let Bei and the others leave because of his negligence. Otherwise, even if others were angry, his own boss would not let him off. After the boss came back, he kept telling others about what happened at the new island overseas. He was also the most proactive when it came to paying taxes. He said that every copper coin he paid was not only for the Tang Empire, but also for himself. At the same time, he also set a rule. No matter who cooperated with an independent trading fleet, they had to take the initiative to pay taxes. They also had to promise that the people they cooperated with had branches all over the country. If the Zhang family and the Wang family needed, any branch manager had the right to directly transfer 3 million strings of cash without asking for anything in return. If the 2 families needed more money, the branch manager had to send a message back to the headquarters as soon as possible. From this, It could be seen how dangerous the situation was when the boss was rescued. While thinking about this, Sun Yang's gaze fell on the paper. After flipping the cover, it was the first page. On it was written, Baby Candy House Cooperation. Sun Yang nodded slightly. He knew that Baby Candy House was opened by Bei and the others, and they had branches in several big places in the Tang Empire. Sun Yang flipped the page and continued reading. His eyes lit up. Then he stopped thinking about other things and flipped through page by page. The more he read, the more surprised and excited he became. When he was halfway through, he stopped and asked, Young Master Xiaobao has such means. Chapter 1039. Xiaobei and the others were a bit nervous when Sun Yang looked at them. This was a plan that they had come up with themselves. Whether or not they could gain the other party's approval was very important to them. Even the two younger children Pan felt this atmosphere. They stopped eating fruits and pulled Xiao Yuan's arms, one on the left and one on the right, and looked at Sun Yang together. However, when Sun Yang said this, Xiaobei and the others sighed helplessly. Pan also sighed heavily, sighs. The inner court beside them quickly said to Sun Yang, This has nothing to do with our young master Xiaobao. Young master Xiaobao still doesn't know about this. He probably only knows that the Great Tang Bank rejected Xiaobei and the others. Our young master and his wives wanted to use their precious candy house and other toys and accessories to take a loan of 3 million strings of coins, but the Great Tang Bank rejected them with the excuse of being too old. Sun Yang was stunned when he heard the inner court's words. Then he stood up in shock and asked, Really? Of course. How could young master Xiaobao's plan be so simple? The inner court said confidently, Simple? I don't see how it's simple. This is clearly a chain of plans. The Great Tang Bank is too unreasonable. Our young master and his wives used things to take a loan of 3 million strings of coins, and they didn't even give it to them. If it was me, just based on our young master and his wife's reputation in the Great Tang, they're worth at least 30 million strings of coins. Sun Yang began to take Xiaobei and the others seriously. In the past, it was because of their status. Now he was treating them as equal business rivals and business partners. All for this cooperation plan. Xiaobei was a bit embarrassed by the praise. He hesitated a bit and asked softly, Then, do you agree to the 3 million strings of coins? You can state your conditions. If we think it's acceptable, we'll give in on the profit sharing and other details. Xiao Yuan also said, Yes, take a good look. Don't patronize us because of our status. If we want money, we can just ask for it directly. We want to cooperate with others based on our own abilities. If it's really possible, we'll sign and go to the next one. Add on. Pan also looked at Sun Yang and said. Only then did Sun Yang realize that he had only read half of it, and the plan had already come to an end. There was still half of it left. He hurriedly said, Let me see what's written at the back. As he spoke, Sun Yang continued to flip through the pages. He saw that the second set of proposals was written on the paper. This time, he realized that the second set of proposals was not like the first set, where the first set of proposals was included. Instead, it was separated from the key points, and the first part of the proposal did not change much. After he finished reading the second proposal, he flipped to the bottom and saw that it was Proposal 3. Again, he removed the duplicates and started from the point of disagreement. When he finished reading the third set, there were 2 more pieces of paper at the end. At the beginning, it was written donation and support to the children of the Great Tang and the Imperial Court. After reading this, Sun Yang remained silent for a long time. He stood there, breathing heavily. Xiaobei grew impatient and asked, Shopkeeper son, is this okay? Sun Yang suddenly came to his senses and solemnly put the cooperation plan on the small table. He picked up the cup of water from the small table and held it in his hand. He bowed deeply to Xiaobei and the others and said, With water instead of wine, I propose a toast to the inspector of the Tang Empire. Heaven and earth, the protection of longevity. Cheers. What toast? Is this okay? Say something. If you agree, we'll sign the contract. Business is business. If you don't pay up after signing the contract, I'll sue you. We still have to go to the next house. We have to take a look at the manager of the Great Tang Bank. Without him, we'll be able to raise more money. Xiaobei was still thinking about the Great Tang Bank's rejection of the application. Xiao Yuan understood what was going on and returned the toast with a cup of water. He said, "The great sound does not seek the sound, but it contains the sound of the tide. Great love is like the shape of water, and the heart shines in a mirror. Besides, we won't lose money. On the contrary, we'll make a lot of money." Yes, I'm thinking too much. There's no need to be too emotional about what you've done. It shows that I haven't done it yet. Once I've done it, it'll be natural. Sun Yang nodded deeply. After thinking about it, he said to Xiaobei and the others, "Young ladies and young masters, let's not go to the next house. It's too tiring for you to run back and forth by yourselves. I'll help you contact the managers of the other big companies and branches in the area and find them. Let's have a meal at the Blue Sea Silver Sand restaurant here. You'll pay for the reception and decorations. We'll hold an impromptu business meeting to raise money. I believe that after they've read your proposal, they'll definitely agree to cooperate. Otherwise, if any one of them doesn't agree, no matter how big their business is, they'll be attacked by the other merchants." Sun Yang suggested. He was very sure that the merchants who had read the proposal, even if they didn't dare to make the decision themselves, would definitely pass it back to the headquarters. After the people at the headquarters knew about it, they would definitely support it. One reason was that according to the proposal, there would indeed be money to be made. Since there was money to be made, why not cooperate? Another reason was that the things included in the proposal were not as simple as making money. It would also stimulate the local economy and people's livelihood in the places where there were shops in the future. Another reason was that it also included help for the children of the Great Tang Empire. Other than using it on other children, their own children would also benefit from it. Therefore, those who didn't agree after reading the proposal were likely to deliberately go against Xiaobei and the others. In that case, the people who cooperated with them would band together. There was no need to use the world's righteousness, and there was no need to stand on high moral grounds to criticize others. It was enough for them to bear with it if they didn't play in this circle in the future. Sun Yang thought that his suggestion was very good, but he didn't expect Xiaobei to shake his head. "Manager Sun, this won't do. This will seem disrespectful. It's better to show sincerity by personally visiting. Don't you think so?" "Yes, no, there's no need. Xiaobei, let me tell you, there's no need to do this. Even if you don't do this, no one will dare to not cooperate with you." Sun Yang immediately understood what Xiaobei meant. They wanted to personally visit with sincerity. However, this sincerity wasn't something that everyone could accept. Xiaobei and the others went with sincerity. If anyone didn't agree, when their elder siblings found out, they would definitely remember which Chamber of Commerce had received the sincerity of their younger siblings, but was unable to help them even if they wanted to. "Let's make a trip. Manager Sun, you have to talk to your boss. What if his considerations are different from ours?" Xiaobei insisted. Same. The Great Tang Empire is of the same origin, and we are of the same origin. I will immediately send a report. Not only will our Qiantang Ocean products pay the money, but I will also inform the other business groups that are cooperating with us, but don't have a branch here to sign. I will sign it." As Sun Yang spoke, he waved his hand, and someone brought over a pen and stamp. He wrote his name on the contract and stamped it. This was only the first step. Next, it had to be notarized. There were 4 copies, one for each side, one for the notarized place, and the other one for the government. Xiaobei put away the contract, smiled sweetly and said, "Then we'll leave now. We won't go back to the ship today. In the evening, we will welcome Sun Dongjia and the Mountain Earth Inspector at the Blue Sea Silver Sand." Sure. Sun Yang sent Xiaobei and the others all the way out, but he didn't forget to give them fish slices, although they didn't lack fish slices. "Let's go back. I was really shocked today. Xiaobei and the others, a group of children, it's really not easy. It's no wonder that all the Tangs like them. Not to mention that they didn't do anything wrong. Even if they did, they have to pretend that they didn't see it." Sun Yang watched as Xiaobei and the others entered the Shuzhou branch of colorful cloud apparel 300 meters away. Only then did he turn around and say something, as if to himself, but also as if to Shantusher. They are very good. Their hurricane camp is very powerful. Unfortunately, I was too scared to mention it when I saw the emperor last time. When there is a chance, I will bring something from my place to present to the emperor. Then I will find a way to take this group of children and let them meet the emperor. Hearing Sun Yang's words, Mountain Earth Stone echoed. Sun Yang patted his forehead hard and dragged Mountain Earth Stone into the store, for fear that others would hear and see them. When they came upstairs, Sun Yang let out a long breath and turned to Mountain Earth Stone and said, "In the future, when you have time, you should listen to the affairs of the Tang Empire. Don't always take the opportunity of inspection to look at other people's goods and compare them with the things in your tribe. Okay? Okay. I am the Tang Empire's inspector. I will be responsible for inspection. I don't think about how much the things in the tribe are worth, nor which ones are easy to buy and transport back to the tribe." Mountain Earth Stone nodded honestly. "Brother too sure, you're my big brother, my blood brother. Listen to your little brother. We can't keep mentioning the name of the great Tang patrol envoy. You must remember, don't mention anything about the patrol envoy, or else you'll be drowned in spit, and the hurricane camp won't be able to save you." Sun Yang felt that it was a big mistake to let Mountain Earth Stone see Xiaobei and others today. After a pause, he said to Mountain Earth Stone, "When we are having dinner tonight, don't mention the matter of taking Xiaobei and others to meet the emperor. Don't mention it. If you mention it, you will be laughed at. I can't afford to lose face. We are going to have dinner, not to make others happy. Do you understand?" Mountain Earth Stone felt the helplessness and suppressed anger in Sun Yang's words. He blinked his eyes in fear and asked in a low voice, "Why?" "You explain it to him." Sun Yang waved to the greeter standing next to him. When Mountain Earth Stone looked over, the greeter also said helplessly, Because he is the Tang Empire's inspector. You are a fake. If he is willing, he can be with the emperor every day. The youngest girl is the Tang Empire's youngest princess, but she is the princess royal with the highest status. Do you understand?" Mountain Earth Stone lowered his head deeply. He raised his hands and imitated Sun Yang at the beginning, covering his face. Just as others were feeling embarrassed, he suddenly raised his head and said, "I regret that I didn't know in advance. Otherwise, I could have asked them to take me to see the emperor. There is still a chance tonight." "That's great." When the lanterns were lit, it was still raining in the area from Hunan to Luoyang. The rain didn't let up. Zhang Xiaobao and the others had already met up with the fleet in Luoyang and other ports. Without stopping, they chased after them in the direction of Shuzhou. Li Longji pulled Zhang Xiaobao and ran to the platform above the ship. They also opened a large umbrella and fixed it firmly. There was a hot pot on the table below. Zhang Xiaobao made the Sichuan hot pot. It was spicy and warm. The dishes were placed on the plate, but no one touched their chopsticks. "How is it? Are you anxious now? The rain is still falling. If it doesn't stop tomorrow morning, it will probably cause a disaster." Li Longji held a small wine cup. Inside was steeped ginseng wine. He took a small sip from time to time, but he wasn't in the mood to eat. He said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao drank the wine in the cup in one gulp. "I'm not afraid of a disaster. We can't let the entire Yellow River area be flooded. It's just a small area. At most, it will be washed away. I'll get people out and have them redesign the houses and build new ones. It's just money. I'm afraid of delaying the construction of the railway. Money is easy to earn, but time can't be bought. If the ground is flooded, how are we going to fix the roadbed? The road here is very important. Let's eat. We'll talk about it later. Let's eat. It's really cold after the rain and the wind." Li Longji picked up a piece of meat and rinsed it in the pot. He dipped it in some seasoning and stuffed it into his mouth. "It's spicy. You put too much chili. You put it. I said a handful is enough, but you grabbed another handful. Someone changed the pot." Zhang Xiaobao knew that it was spicy without tasting it. Someone immediately went to get the pot and mixed it with the soup. This way it wouldn't be so spicy. Not long after, the pot was sent over. There was still a milky white soup inside. Zhang Xiaobao didn't have the time to make it into a clear soup. At the same time, a piece of information was sent over. Little master, there's news from Xiaobei and the rest. Please take a look. The person handed the information over. I'll take a look first. Li Longji snatched it over and looked at it. Suddenly he leaned back. Ah, that's impossible. Zhang Xiaobao patted his chest and looked at Li Longji gloomily. Li Longji's reaction was too infuriating. You snatched it over and looked at it, and then you're startled. It's obvious that you're trying to arouse the curiosity of others. Xiaobao, guess what's going on? Li Longji's eyes were still staring at the news, but he asked Zhang Xiaobao. I guess that Xiaobei and the rest have raised more money. The amount is a little too big. Zhang Xiaobao replied casually. It's not just a little too big. They've already raised 32 million strings of cash. Have the merchants of Great Tang gone crazy? What do Xiaobei and the rest need so much money for? Li Longji shook the paper in his hand and said with widened eyes. How would I know? I reckon that more detailed information will be sent over later. The telegram isn't fast, and there's a lot of words. We'll have to wait for a while. Your Majesty, eat first. Zhang Xiaobao was also curious. He wasn't curious about what his younger siblings wanted to do with the money, but how they managed to get others to fork out the money. Zhang Xiaobao was certain that his younger siblings didn't use the power of their family, or rather, they didn't take the initiative to use it. Instead, they relied on their own methods to get other merchants to cooperate with them. At this thought, Zhang Xiaobao smiled proudly. The smarter his younger siblings were, the greater the scale of the matter. This meant that he had taught them well. Li Longji was still looking at the piece of paper over and over again. The paper wasn't big, and there weren't many words on it, but he liked to look at it. It was only when Zhang Xiaobao started to cook the meat and stirred the red oil in the pot that a spicy smell came out that he put down the report and said to Zhang Xiaobao, 32 million strings of cash. That's enough to start a rebellion. It's enough to recruit warriors, stockpile provisions, and forge weapons. It's all enough. In the past, the Great Tang's annual income was only slightly more than that. Don't you think so? Yes, they should be rebelling. Aren't you going to help them? They keep calling you Uncle Emperor. It's time for them to use your Majesty. Zhang Xiaobao poured himself a cup of wine and drank it all down as he spoke to Li Longji. Li Longji also drank the wine in his cup and pushed the empty cup in front of Zhang Xiaobao, asking him to pour wine for him. He said, help, you must help. Tell the person who received the message to hurry up. I want to know how they did it. I'm sure that they definitely didn't use the power of their family, although the merchants who are cooperating with them have to consider this issue first. Zhang Xiaobao poured wine for Li Longji. There's no use in rushing them. They sent the message slowly, so there's probably a lot of content. Your Majesty, try this tofu skin. It has a unique texture when eaten, and it tastes pretty good. I won't eat it first. No matter how good your cooking is, it won't taste good in my mouth. Wait a moment. Li Longji put down his chopsticks and continued to sip his wine. He was clearly very anxious. He would only reveal his emotions when he was with Zhang Xiaobao. They waited for half an hour. Li Longji didn't eat, and Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to eat by himself. The charcoal wasn't put out, and the soup was continuously added. Zhang Xiaobao could only eat some cucumber and other cold dishes to go with the wine. Just as Zhang Xiaobao finished half a plate of cucumber shreds, the telegram was finally sent over. Li Longji snatched it over again. This time, it was a daluo. It was similar to what Xiaobei and the others had shown Sun Yang. The only difference was that there were 2 more pages describing the situation there. Li Longji's expression kept changing as he looked at it. Sometimes it was surprise, sometimes it was contemplation, sometimes it was doubt, and sometimes it was sighing. He had a variety of expressions. Zhang Xiaobao only had one expression, which was helplessness. He stopped eating and drinking. He placed his arms on the table and supported his chin. He stared at Li Longji without blinking. He was probably trying to read the content of the telegram from Li Longji's face. After flipping a few more pages, Li Longji's expression became serious. He started to drink and finished a cup in 3 sips. Then, he pushed the cup in front of Zhang Xiaobao. His eyes never left the paper. Zhang Xiaobao read the content of the telegram. Li Longji wanted to drink, So he filled the cup. Then, he watched Li Longji drink, and continued to fill the cup. By the time Li Longji finished his 6th cup, Zhang Xiaobao finally decided not to fill it up. Although the cups were small, only 2 taels of wine each, in addition to the previous cups, it was enough for 10 cups, which was 2 taels of wine. He couldn't let Li Longji get drunk. He still had to drink with him later. If he didn't drink 1 caddy of wine, it wouldn't be enough for the 2 of them. At this time, Li Longji just happened to flip to the last page. When he reached for the cup, he didn't realize that the cup was empty. He made a drinking gesture and licked the cup with his tongue. When he put down the cup, his eyes reddened. "Your Majesty, are you done reading? Can this subject take a look as well?" Zhang Xiaobao resisted the urge to snatch the telegram and asked, "What are you making so much noise for? Do you think it's easy for Xiaobei and the others? Why is it so difficult to get a loan? Immediately implement the matter we discussed and cooperate with Xiaobei and the others." Li Longji put down the telegram in dissatisfaction and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "What matter?" Zhang Xiaobao stretched out his hand to take the telegram. "It's that plan to encourage people to have children. Xiaobei picked up a child without ears and wants to get money. Then, she wants to raise the children that other people don't want. Then she's waiting for us to subsidize her? If you don't implement the matter, how are you going to subsidize her?" Li Longji explained the matter to Zhang Xiaobao. "If we don't subsidize her, won't they have enough money? Will they be able to pay for it?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't look at the contents and directly asked, "That's not the case. How can Xiaobei and the others be simple? We watched her grow up, but we can't always bully her, right?" Li Longji said loudly, "Who bullied her?" Zhang Xiaobao's voice grew even louder. Chapter 1040. Zhang Xiaobao felt that Li Longji was very shameless. He ignored Li Longji and lowered his head to read the cooperation plan. The one in his hand was for Dongting Aquatic Products. Just like the information said that each company would provide 3 different plans, this agreement also had 3 plans. First, it proposed a general principle that would not change under any circumstances, even in times of war. That was to open 4,000 baby candy houses within a month in the Tang Empire. And the shares would not be transferred, nor would new shares be issued, which meant that the 9 people of Xiaobei owned all the shares. Do you feel that it's overbearing to let others pay for it while Baby Candy House doesn't pay anything? Li Longji held chopsticks and dipped something in the pot, but his eyes didn't look at the pot. He estimated the time, and felt that Zhang Xiaobao had finished reading this. So he said to Zhang Xiaobao, "It's okay." Zhang Xiaobao replied casually, and continued to read. The following was that Dongting Aquatic Products needed to invest 500,000 strings of coins to obtain the right to display the auxiliary sales counters of the 4,000 Baby Candy House. Baby Candy House would be exempted from the cost of advertising for 1 year, and would make banner advertisements for 4 seasons free of charge. The quality of goods produced by Dongting Aquatic Products must meet the food standards of Baby Candy House for children. The logistics costs would be shared by Baby Candy House according to the distance, 20% to 50%. Dongting Aquatic Products didn't need to continue to pay extra. It's fair, right? But the logistics cost of Baby Candy House, for 500,000 strings of coins, is too high. It doesn't seem to be cost-effective, right? Li Longji paused and said, "Yes." Zhang Xiaobao replied this time and continued reading. This was the second plan. The first one remained unchanged, but the second one was proposed. Dongting Aquatic Products would invest 1 million strings of coins, and Baby Candy House would only bear 10% of the freight regardless of the distance. A children's play center would be built next to Baby Candy House. There were 4,000 of them in the Tang Empire. They would be built in the same proportion as Baby Candy House. The play center would be a duty-free zone. Dongting Aquatic Products would not charge any fee for selling goods in it. However, 20% of the profit would be donated to the Tang Empire Children's Happiness Fund. Now you know why Xiaobei wants a duty-free policy in Hongnong's amusement park, right? The 4,000 amusement centers were all branches of Hongnong. The headquarters was in charge of finance and taxation. It reminded me of when you and Cuckoo were young. That was how you schemed against me. Just like what you said in the story you told Xiaobei and the others. It's a diversion, playing hard to get, secretly crossing the Chen song, deceiving everyone, and swapping a pillar for a pillar. No matter how smart we are, we can't trick them. Li Longji's timing was very accurate. He spoke just as Zhang Xiaobao was looking at this place. Hee. Zhang Xiaobao couldn't help but laugh. He felt that Li Longji was too cute. He wanted to learn from what he and Cuckoo had told their younger siblings. Then he continued to read. This time, it was the third plan. The first part of the study was unchanged, but the latter part required Dongting Fishery to invest 1.5 million strings of cash. Darling's Candy House would not bear any logistics costs, but they could find a logistics company for Dongting Fishery, with a discount of 60% to 20%. If the actual cost was more than 20%, the money would be paid by Darling's Candy House. Besides, they could also give Dongting Fishery half of the shares and shares of the Haha Mirror Garden. The Haha Mirror Garden would be composed of mirrors. There would be different mirrors in it and a mirror maze. It would be open to all children for free. An adult who accompanied the child would get a 30% discount, 2 people would get a 50% discount, and the rest would be paid in full. Plus the money from selling souvenirs, Dongting Fishery could get 5% of the net profit, which was 5%. After making a profit in the Haha Mirror Garden, the dividends would be paid according to different situations and proportions, such as changing the mirrors, paving the lawn, and indoor decoration. Finally, there was an appendix of free donation support and imperial subsidies for the children of Tang Empire. Free donation. In addition to the 20% profit mentioned above, all businessmen would voluntarily donate to build local children's homes to accept abandoned children. If the imperial court's maternity and child support subsidies were implemented in the future, cooperating businessmen were not allowed to ask for money for any reason. All the money would be at the disposal of Darling's Candy House, but the accounts could be audited. Have you found out? Bebe and the others know what we are discussing. They even calculated this part of the money. They are right. When we implement the matter, we will give them the money when there are children in the children's home. Of course, I know that if we give them the money, they will not spend it as profit. But after all, I am involved in it. Go on to the next one. The agreement with Thunder Logistics Group. You and Cuckoo told them the story of the Haha Mirror Garden. As a result, they made a Haha Mirror Garden. It is the mirror that is not so flat, right? Li Longji said to Zhang Xiaobao again. Zhang Xiaobao didn't say anything this time. He continued to look at the next agreement with Thunder Logistics. This one required less money. The first one was to pay 300,000 strings of cash to advertise. Then, Thunder Logistics would get at least 30% of the relevant material transportation share of 4,000 Darling's Candy House. However, when the number of goods exceeded a benchmark number, Thunder Logistics would have to return 20% of the excess profits to Darling's Candy House to fund the children's fund. The second one was to invest 600,000 strings of cash. Apart from the advertising, the distribution share would be increased by 20%, reaching 50%. At the same time, according to the first plan, after exceeding the benchmark number, in addition to the 20% funding fund, they would have to give another 30% of the excess profits to settle the shipping costs. The third one was to invest 1 million strings of cash. Darling's Candy House would give up all of the goods transportation share. But for the excess, they would have to pay another 20% to the fund and pay another 50% to provide a discount for the goods transportation. The maximum amount would be 40% of the total value of all goods. At the same time, they would get 5% of the shares of the Haha Mirror Garden. The rest was the same. At this point, Zhang Xiaobao didn't continue reading. He already understood what was going on. His younger siblings were using the 4,000 Darling's Candy House and their supporting facilities as a platform to optimize and integrate the resources of all industries. At the same time, they were achieving their own series of goals. Putting down a piece of paper, Zhang Xiaobao leaned back and smiled as he gently clapped his hands, again and again. Li Longji also clapped as he said, "Don't you feel proud? Your younger siblings are actually able to make such a big move. They're not inferior to you and Cuckoo back then, and they're even better. Come, let's drink. You flatter me. Your Majesty's praise is wrong. They're just a bunch of insensible brats who only know how to mess around. They should listen to your Majesty's teachings more. Zhang Xiaobao raised his cup and clinked it with Li Longji's before downing it in one gulp. Li Longji poured Zhang Xiaobao a cup of wine and said, "Don't be modest with me. A big move is a big move." How did the 9 children figure it out? First, they were able to earn money themselves. And they were even able to arrange for their informants to enter Darling's candy house to supplement your family's intelligence. Second, they were able to help the children of Great Tang. They were really able to do what they said they would do. Taking out profits for the children to use would also make the children's parents feel more at ease. Third, they were able to find a place that was exempt from tax. Naturally, they were able to find the local people who were unable to work and had too little income to solve some of the problems of the imperial court. Fourth, I can also help your family sell mirrors. There will be a market for your family's defective mirrors. Haha, mirrors, how good are they? Big and small pieces will do, and all kinds of shapes will be fine too. Even bumpy ones will be even better. Fifth, with so many large business groups following Darling's candy house, you can analyze the general situation of the various materials from the speed of their supply and the time of their delivery. When combined with your family's current trading system, the data would be even more perfect. Not only would it be more convenient for your family to obtain useful information from your business and earn more money, it would also allow you and Cuckoo to have more power to analyze and coordinate materials when disasters occur. Oh, right, the amusement park's equipment is produced by the Ministry of Works, and your father is in charge of it. Naturally, the construction work would be done by him. No one else knows how to do it. Today I've learned something new. I estimate that Xiaobei and the others will be able to obtain more than 40 million strings of cash. And that's still an understatement. 10,000 strings of cash to build a place. What a good plan to gain something without risking anything. This is a plan within a plan, a chain of plans. Xiaobao, if others were to do this, would you approve? Others? Who else would be able to do this? Zhang Xiaobao's heart was filled with joy. Perhaps his younger brothers and sisters didn't even think of so many benefits. They just wanted to get money and solve the problem of child relief. In addition, they also wanted to help the emperor with the help of a local tax exemption. But no matter what, the resources were integrated. Moreover, just as Li Longji had analyzed, many things were involved. Just now there were already several aspects. As they gradually improved, they would discover even more benefits. If others were to do this, I wouldn't care. This is a normal occurrence, but I will pay close attention. If they want to do something that will have a negative impact on the Great Tang, and if the economic interference takes too long to be effective, I will even directly use administrative means. As for Xiaobei and the others, what do I have to worry about? Their goal is very clear, and they aren't thinking about how much money they can earn in the future. They haven't learned that ability yet. The operation of capital is very simple, just like Xiaobei and the others. They are confused, but it's also very difficult. Cuckoo and I haven't taught them. Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji that he was biased. As long as his family was fine, others would definitely pay attention to it. However, Li Longji felt that Zhang Xiaobao was right and agreed with him. A gratified smile appeared on his face as he said, I know that Xiaobei and the others want to solve the problem of the children, and at the same time, help their uncle the emperor share some of the pressure. Everything revolves around these 2 points. Then they need money, so they made a few preparations. But the bank didn't give them a loan, so they used this method. When they were building a canal to let the ducks grow healthily, they inadvertently watered the spring on both sides of the river. In Wang Wan's cabin, Empress Wang and Wu Huifei were also reading the report that was written at the same time. Empress Wang's eyes were filled with confusion. She didn't understand the purpose of the series of events described in the report. Wu Huifei, on the other hand, was deeply immersed in the report, and her expression was similar to Li Longji's. Wang Wan was reading a portion of the report in one hand, while her other hand was in charge of roasting meat for Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. Outside, Zhang Xiaobao and Li Longji were eating hot pot. Inside, Wang Wan and the others were eating roasted people. The lamb and veal had been treated with supplementary ingredients, so they tasted pretty good. At noon, Zhang Xiaobao had helped them prepare it. When Wang Wan received the second agreement, the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up into a smile. Her hand that was roasting the meat became lighter and lighter. Then, like Zhang Xiaobao, she put down the document and stopped looking at it. This was because she understood the intentions of her younger siblings. Younger sister tell big sister. Big sister feels like Xiaobei, and the others have been taking a step back instead of taking advantage of others. Think about it, Xiaobei and the others' baby candy house is very famous. Other people are spending tens of millions of strings of coins to advertise for a long time. This is too unfair to Xiaobei and the others. When I think about how Xiaobei and the others are being bullied for money, I feel very uncomfortable. Why did the great Tang Bank set such a rule? Call Xiaobao over later. I have to talk to him. Empress Wang saw this in the report and wanted to seek an alliance. So she spoke to Wu Huifei in the form of asking for advice. Wu Huifei glanced at Empress Wang in surprise. For a moment, she didn't understand what she meant. After pondering for a moment, she understood. She then smiled helplessly at Empress Wang and said, "Big sister, how are Xiaobei and the others being bullied? They are carrying out a commercial attack. The method they are using is alliance and borrowing other people's strength. It's no different from fighting a war." Fighting a war? Oh, you're talking about a commercial war. Then who is Xiaobei's opponent? Empress Wang didn't understand, but she didn't doubt Wu Huifei's words. This was because at this time, there was no direct conflict of interest between the two of them. For the time being, they don't have an opponent. But I reckon that with Xiaobei's personality, she won't easily give up, Wu Huifei said with certainty. Who won't give up? Empress Wang continued to ask. The great Tang Bank. Wang Wan followed up and put the roasted meat on the two's plates. Then she said, Xiaobei and the others can't pretend that nothing happened. No matter what, they have to get back their face. Yes, their face, haha. Wang Wan's words were very relaxed. It was as if the great Tang Bank and Xiaobei had nothing to do with her. Empress Wang was one of those who sided with her relatives. She agreed and said, yes, they should fight back. They can't always be bullied. Wu Huifei thought differently. She asked Wang Wan. The rules were set by Xiaobao. The manager of the great Tang Bank didn't do anything wrong. You're going to ignore that manager in order to protect your younger brother and sister? What do you mean he didn't do anything wrong? The rules are dead, but people are alive. If it wasn't Xiaobei and the others who applied for a mortgage loan, no one else would be allowed to get a loan? Wang Wan asked. I think so. I haven't seen anyone who dares to challenge the great Tang Bank, Wu Huifei said. Wang Wan poured fruit wine for the two. When she reached for the meat with her chopsticks, she said, in fact, Xiaobao is very dissatisfied. The great Tang Bank, as a business center, should be more flexible. Xiaobei and the others couldn't get a loan because they were too young. Then why didn't the local manager send someone to find Xiaobao and me to discuss it? Or perhaps find my father and Xiaobao's father to discuss it? Business is not something that can be obtained by stubbornly guarding, but by taking the initiative. The great Tang Bank is not a high and mighty existence, although its current position is not low. However, Xiaobao and I want the great Tang Bank to become a pure business. It is an existence that can withstand any impact and competition in the same industry. Otherwise, it will decline one day. I don't need to ask Xiaobao to know that if Xiaobei and the others make a move against the great Tang Bank, Xiaobao will definitely not interfere. Moreover, he will pass on this idea to Xiaobei and the others. At this time, Empress Wang finally understood the seriousness of the matter and was shocked. She picked up a piece of meat that Wang Wan had roasted, but when she ate it, she found that she could not find the taste that she imagined. She helplessly put down her chopsticks and said to Wang Wan, Cuckoo, you're saying that you and Xiaobao support Xiaobei and the others to attack the great Tang Bank? But what about the weapons? If the great Tang Bank wins, what will happen to Xiaobei and the others? If Xiaobei wins, what will happen to the great Tang Bank? Wang Wan poured herself a cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. She exhaled and lightly sighed. AI. It seems that the managers of the various banks need to be retrained. This is an opportunity to let them know that their relationship with their customers is not one of hostility, but one of unity. I support it, and I believe that Xiao Bao will also support it. As for the weapons, if Xiao Bei and the others are smart enough, they should have already thought of a way. If they use the plan of taking drastic measures and driving the tiger to devour the wolf within half a month, Xiao Bao and I will adjust the teaching arrangements. This means that Xiao Bei and the others can grasp more knowledge. Foster mother, you asked me who I should help, so it is natural. Xiao Bao and I will definitely help our younger brother and sister. If Xiao Bei and the others fail, we will bear the loss for them. If they succeed, we will cheer for them. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei did not expect Wang Wan to give such an answer, especially Empress Wang, who asked in disbelief. Cuckoo, you mean that you will connive and protect Xiao Bei and the others? What will the world think of you? Of course the world will think that we are doing the right thing. If a person can't even protect his younger brother and sister, how can he protect the entire Great Tang? Wang Wan replied. Empress Wang's eyes lit up, and she nodded fiercely. Cuckoo, I like this about you and Xiao Bao. Isn't that right, sister? When Wu Huifei heard that Empress Wang finally asked her, she reluctantly said, Sister is right. No one is allowed to touch the people they protect, not even His Majesty. Chapter 1041. While Xiao Bei's group was setting sail once more, the 4,000 candy houses in the Great Tang were also beginning to move. Xiao Bei and the others had nothing else to do for the time being. They felt that they had done a very great thing, but they didn't know that their actions had made their brothers and sisters busy as well. Zhang Xiaobao sat at the bow of the ship. The wind blew in his face, bringing with it a slight chill. He flipped through a thick book in his hand, which recorded the planting of this year's grain and cash crops in various places. Wang Wan sketched out the distribution of soil on the sheltered table next to her. In some places it was sugar cane, sweet, honey and wheat. Li Longji sat not far from Zhang Xiaobao and Li Shiyu drinking soup. Yesterday, he finally drank too much and fell asleep. This morning his head was still faintly aching. When the others were eating breakfast, he went to take a bath. After the others finished eating, he asked Zhang Xiaobao to make a bowl of soup for him. As he sipped, he felt the warmth flowing into his stomach and felt much better. Okay, it's almost done. Xiao Bei and the others have completed the preliminary rationing plan for their candy house. In the short term, the workshops and shops related to sugar will be affected a little. The cost of production will increase by about 10% and will naturally fall within a month. Zhang Xiaobao closed the book and said with a smile. Wang Wan was still sketching there. I still have to be busy. The planting of sugar cane, sugar beets, barley, and corn needs to be arranged according to the different climate and soil of each place. The income of the people who raise bees and flowers will increase. It's also thanks to our support behind the scenes. Otherwise, the raw material cost of Xiaobei's candy house would increase by several times, or the sugar-related industries in Tang would be affected. 4,000 candy houses to open at the same time. How daring! This time, our family's glass industry will benefit. I'm just afraid that we don't have enough manpower and can't handle it. Zhang Xiaobao also agreed. I'm afraid that we won't be able to handle it. Our glass is still handmade. When we need thick glass, we can only cut and grind it. The thin glass can be blown out, so a lot of waste glass is produced. Haojing, how did Xiao Bei and the others come up with this idea? Large pieces of glass can be directly made into mirrors, and small pieces can be pieced together to make the effect of a kaleidoscope. Bits and pieces of glass can be used for inlay and handicrafts processing, and can also be sold for a lot of money. That's why I'm going to increase the tax on the glass industry. Your family will reap all the benefits, Li Longji said. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at Li Longji's bowl of soup and said with concern, Your Majesty, the soup won't taste good if it gets cold. Xiao Bei and the others are in charge of this matter. When you see them, you can personally tell them that the sales tax of my family's glass have already reached 50%. That's right. Many of them are given to the Ministry of Works for free. Where is the money to be earned? Wang Wan chimed in. Li Longji snorted and gulped down a few mouthfuls of wine. He let out a long sigh and said, "Don't you know how much the cost of your glass is? If you sell a single piece of glass, it's enough to pay 100 workers in your factory for a month. Otherwise, if you give your glass to the Ministry of Works and the military for free, it won't be as simple as a 50% tax. Seeing that your family's trash glass can also make money, if we don't collect your tax, what will the imperial court eat? You even said that you want to increase the tax on those with high incomes. That's good. I'll start with your family and increase the tax to 60%. As for who instigated this, I don't care. Since you mentioned Xiao Bei and the others, I just wanted to tell you something. Since Xiao Bei and the others are so capable, Junior and Pan, can't be lacking in the future. I don't care what method you come up with. When Junior and Pan are as old as Xiao Bei and the others, they also need to come up with a business plan. They don't need me to give them a single copper coin. They need to raise at least 500. No, 3 million strings of cash, and open a chain store to make money. The more Li Longji spoke, the more he felt that what he said made sense. He shook his head happily and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, waiting for them to give him a definite answer. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan turned their heads woodenly and looked at each other. They then turned their heads back to look at Li Longji. Li Longji smiled proudly. "Do you realize that I am very wise?" "Yes, your majesty is truly wise." Zhang Xiaobao responded, then said, "Okay, I agree. It's simple. Isn't it just 3 million strings of cash? From now on, I won't teach them anything else. I'll only teach them how to do business. 6 years later, I'll have them use their own methods to raise 6 million strings of cash. Yes, if they can't raise the money, Xiao Bao and I will make up for the shortfall." Wang Wan agreed. "Make up for the shortfall? I lack money? They have to rely on their own abilities to get 3 million strings of cash. Also, just knowing how to do business isn't enough. Arithmetic, calligraphy, painting, poetry, musical instruments, and excellent swimming skills are all required. You can't favor one and discriminate against the other." Li Longji added to his request, "Your Majesty, do you want to learn military command? Do you want to learn how to cook? Do you want to learn how to govern?" Zhang Xiaobao helped Li Longji supplement. Li Longji didn't immediately speak this time. He continued to drink the soup that was almost cold. From time to time, he would stop and unconsciously stare at a certain spot. After a while, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were already arranging the planting of sugar raw materials, Li Longji drank the last mouthful of soup and said to the two of them, "Junior has to learn politics, national policy, and military command. As for Panner, she can learn more about other aspects, but you also have to teach politics. She doesn't have to learn it too well. How about this? If they learn more, we don't require them to reach a certain level in a few years. We will be satisfied if they can have half of your ability at their prime." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were speechless once more. "Little Yuan, why do you think they're willing to give us so much money and cooperate with us to do business, but not willing to work with us on this major matter? Do you know the Great Tang Bank is the wealthiest place in our Great Tang? If we can make them suffer, even if it's just a little bit, we'll become famous. That would be something that everyone yearns for." Xiao Bei stayed in the cabin. He opened half the window and let the moist wind from the river blow in. He said to little Yuan, who crossed his arms to show that he was cold. Hearing Xiao Bei's words, little Yuan was very vexed, because this was not the first time Xiao Bei had brought it up. Since last night, when she clinked glasses with others, Xiao Bei kept talking about working together to deal with the Great Tang Bank. As a result, the merchants who had clinked glasses with Xiao Bei only took a small sip of wine. When they heard what Xiao Bei brought up, they all drank 3 or 5 cups in a row. Xiao Bei didn't finish her cup of fruit juice. All the people that she found to work together to teach the Great Tang Bank a lesson all drank too much. No one was lucky enough to escape, and they all drank voluntarily. Xiao Bei wasn't stupid. She immediately saw that these people would rather get themselves drunk than offend the Great Tang Bank. So she was very angry. Little Yuan was also angry, but she understood that behind the Great Tang Bank was her brother. Which merchant dared to provoke him? If the person who had rejected their loan application was not a manager of the Great Tang Bank, but the owner of some pawnshop or private bank, Then everything would be easy to deal with. She believed that the merchants would take the initiative to help her take revenge. Last night, Xiao Yuan heard Xiao Bei mention the matter of revenge in his sleep. He felt helpless and angry at that manager. Hearing Xiao Bei mention it again, Xiao Yuan could only comfort him. Actually, they're afraid of our brother, not the person in charge. If it really doesn't work out, we can send a report to our brother and ask him to fire the person in charge. That won't do. If we fire the manager, wouldn't we be bullying others? I want that manager to suffer a big loss. That way, others will feel that it's normal to fire him. Xiao Bei shook her head and directly rejected Little Yuan's suggestion. What's the difference? In any case, the manager is following the normal process and didn't break any rules. Do we have to make things difficult for him, just because he offended us? Perhaps that manager is already on tenterhooks. Little Yuan began to sympathize with the manager of this branch of the Great Tang Bank. Xiao Bei didn't say anything and continued to stand by the window. Her face was red from the wind, but she had no intention of leaving. After about 15 minutes, Xiao Bei softly sighed, rubbed her face with her hands, and left the window. She found a corner and dragged a stool over. Sitting there, she rested her arms on her legs and rested her chin on her hands. Little Yuan also dragged a stool over and sat down next to Xiao Bei. Together they fell silent. Little Yuan, tell me, is it good or bad that the Great Tang Bank is so powerful? If a bank similar to the Great Tang Bank appears in the future, won't the Great Tang Bank be threatened? After a while, Xiao Bei nudged Little Yuan and asked. Little Yuan thought for a while and then replied, there definitely will be. Didn't Big Brother and Big Sister say many times that no matter what industry it is, other than the military industry, there shouldn't be a monopoly? Xiao Bei recalled that when she was with her big brother and big sister, she could always hear all kinds of things. Nodding, she said, yes, I also know. Big Brother and Big Sister mean that if one family monopolizes an industry, it won't be good for the people's livelihood. Just like the pricing power that our family had in the beginning. When I heard the servants at home talk about it, I didn't understand why at that time. Now, I finally understand. Whoever has the power to set the price can decide the unrealistic price of a certain or several goods. This is not simple. Just like the cooperation model we use now, we rely on the power of our family to make those merchants willing to cooperate with us. But if we can decide the price of all commodities in the Great Tang from the start, then as long as we show the slightest intention of needing money, countless merchants will come to us. Little Yuan nodded and followed Xiao Bei's words. So in the future, many banks will appear in the Great Tang. But I know that no matter how many banks appear, Big Brother and Big Sister will control them very well. They won't allow any bank to use methods that violate the rules or take advantage of loopholes to harm the people of the Great Tang. At this point, Little Yuan was stunned for a moment and then whispered to Xiao Bei. Actually, our big brother Xiaohai mentioned something to me yesterday. What did he mention? Xiao Bei's curiosity was aroused. Big brother Xiaohai said that as long as we calculate the proportion of collateral that the Great Tang Bank gives out, and how much of the Great Tang Bank's money hasn't been used, we can make the Great Tang Bank suffer a small loss. Little Yuan's voice became even softer. Xiao Bei also appeared to be nervous. He looked at the door, and then looked at the two servant girls, and the manservant, who were ready to serve the two of them at any time. His entire person became vigilant. In fact, the three people in the room had already noticed that the young master and young lady's reactions were different, but they still pretended that nothing had happened. They were very dutiful, even though they had already noticed that Xiao Bei's wife, Little Yuan, and young master were thinking about how to deal with young master Xiao Bao's Great Tang Bank. Really, seeing that the three people in the inner courtyard did not respond, Xiao Bei covered his mouth with his hand and asked Little Yuan, just like the person who contacted him underground. Little Yuan hid behind him. Don't act like you can't see him. I'm whispering, because I'm afraid that you will suddenly become too excited after hearing it. How about I have someone call Big Brother Xiaohai over? Only then did Xiao Bei realize that the people in the room were from the inner courtyard, so there was nothing to hide. Thus he nodded and said to a servant girl, Little Tang, go call big brother Xiaohai over. Little Tang nodded and ran out as fast as he could. Xiaobei turned his head to the remaining two people and said, "In a moment, when we discuss matters, you two can also participate. However, no matter what you hear, you absolutely cannot tell anyone else. Do you understand?" The two people repeatedly nodded. The man said, "Young lady, you can rest assured. From now on, no matter what you say, I will forget after hearing it. I absolutely won't remember it. What I mean is that even my big brother and big sister must not tell anyone. Can you do that?" Xiaobei asked. Yes, very yes. As long as what you say does not harm the family, we will not tell anyone else, especially after you specifically mention it. If you mention it, we will also tell young Master Xiaobao that the first people he will deal with will be us." The manservant continued to promise. The servant girl next to him also had an expression that said she would not say anything even if she was beaten to death. She was very clear that her male colleague was completely correct. If Xiaobei and the others specifically said that what they discussed was not allowed to be told to anyone else, and that the matter would not cause any great harm to the family, then they definitely could not tell anyone else. Otherwise, young Master Xiaobao would at least kick them out of the Zhang family, and Wang family at the very least. If it was serious, it would be easy to erase them. That's good. In a moment, you two also need to participate. When the time comes, we will be like grasshoppers tied to the same rope. No one can even think of escaping, okay? Xiaobei was very happy. What else could the two people say? They could only continue to nod. Not long after, Xiaohai and the others came over. Pan and her sister were also there. The two little ones were now like tails, always following behind their 9 big brothers and sisters. They didn't know what the adults were thinking, especially Li Jun. How could she know how much pressure she put on others when she played with big sister Xiaobei? And how much of a sense of crisis it created? None of the princes, including the current crown prince, were not worried at all. Back then, when Li Sun was with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, they were already nervous. And that was just a person who didn't have the identity of a prince. The current Li Jun was the true eldest son of the first wife, born from the empress. If that was all, it wouldn't be a big deal, because he was too young. When their imperial father abdicated, Li Jun probably wouldn't have grown up yet. Of course, this was because they didn't know how old their father, Li Longji, would be. However, what they knew was that if Li Jun was with Xiaobei and the others, what was the difference between being with Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan? If there really was a difference, it would be that Li Jun had been cultivating relationships with everyone in the Zhang family and Wang family since she was young. This invisible pressure made the princes want to find a chance to get rid of Li Jun. But they also knew that they didn't have the ability to do so. So the only thing left was to silently pray in their hearts. They hoped that Li Jun and Pan would either get a serious illness or encounter some kind of danger. However, this was only a thought. They also understood that if they were with the Zhang family and Wang family, they would get an incurable illness, and their lives would be in danger. In that case, Tang wouldn't be able to find a safer place. How could Li Jun and Pan know about these things? They just liked to play with their brothers and sisters. They could eat good food, play games with others, and listen to interesting stories. Right now, Pan was wondering if there would be a story to listen to with everyone gathered together. She opened her eyes wide and looked at Xiaobei. When Xiaobei looked over, she gave him her sweetest smile and said, "Story, tell me a story." Okay, stories. Be good, Pan. Big sister will tell Pan a story in a while. Xiaobei coaxed Pan, but his eyes turned to his brother Xiaohai. Xiaohai was relatively quiet and didn't like to talk all the time. Other than when he was reading essays, he was also with his brothers and sisters. Otherwise, even when he was with his mother, he didn't talk much. He probably felt that instead of wasting so much time talking, it was better to learn arithmetic. Seeing his sister look over, Xiaohai nodded and said, "Through the information at home, I found out that the money in our Great Tang private bank is actually not much. All the money added together is about 400 million string of coins. But the private bank only has a fifth of it left. The rest of the money was either invested by the private bank or loaned out. That is to say, the private bank has 80 million strings of coins of string of coins, and we have 40 million strings of coins to do business. If we are determined to do something, we can at least make the great Tang private bank suffer a loss. Xiao Hai's words were very certain, and the other children also nodded. This was something that they had discussed together. Like Xiao Bei, they had been holding back their anger. Therefore, they unleashed all of their abilities. While Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan were hiding here and feeling uncomfortable, they came up with this result. When the three people from the inner court heard Xiao Hai's words, they couldn't help but shiver. They didn't know what to feel in their hearts. This group of little brats, they were actually planning to attack the Great Tang private bank. Xiao Bei heard it clearly, but he didn't understand how the 40 million strings of coins they had raised had anything to do with how much money the Great Tang private bank had. Xiao Bei doubtfully looked over and said, "Big brother, then what should we do?" At this time, the cabin door was closed. The people outside weren't allowed to come in, and the people inside weren't allowed to go out. Everyone's eyes were on Xiao Hai. Xiao Hai was still as calm as ever. This was the habit of someone who worked in mathematics. Seeing that everyone was looking over, Xiao Hai found a chair and sat down. He said to Xiao Bei, "We discussed it, and the final decision is that if you and Xiao Yuan agree, then we will teach the Great Tang private bank a lesson. Otherwise, they will really think that we are so easy to bully. In the future, anyone will dare to bully us in the name of fairness. Big brother hasn't said anything yet, so I guess big brother and big sister are waiting to see what we will do." "I agree." Xiao Bei was the first to express his position. "I agree with her," Xiao Yuan said. "Good. Then I will now analyze the relationship between the 80 million strings of coins and our 40 million strings of coins." Xiao Hai looked at the others and saw that no one objected. Even Li Jun and Pan'er nodded. Xiao Bei pulled Pan'er over and held her in his arms. He looked at his big brother. The three people from the inner court took a deep breath at the same time, then closed their eyes and made a decision. They were going to go all out and do whatever they wanted. It was too late to back out now. Not to mention, even if they wanted to back out just now, they still couldn't. The cabin suddenly quieted down. Xiao Hai copied the adults and lightly coughed. He then said, "The Great Tang private bank's operation model is actually very simple. One is to lend money, and the other is to attract deposits. The interest of the loans is higher than the interest of the deposits given to others. The other is to invest. In terms of the Great Tang private bank's own investments, Big Brother is very strict. One is to not invest in the most basic industries, and the other is to not invest in businesses that are too risky. Thus, the result is that the money invested cannot be recovered in a short period of time. This is because it is not a speculation, but an investment. There is a long-term return of capital. Thus, the Great Tang private bank's current reserves are only 80 million strings of coins." When Little Hai said this, he paused and looked at Little Bei. This time, Little Bei understood a little and said, "Yes, it's only 80 million strings of cash. However, 80 million strings of cash is very little. It's based on the total amount of 400 million strings of cash. It's a fifth, which is 20%. But in reality, 80 million strings of coins is not a small amount. How can we make their 80 million strings of coins smaller? Is this what you mean? Make it smaller? Then let the Great Tang private bank go bankrupt?" Xiao Hai nodded. "It is not a simple matter of making it smaller. We want to make them panic. As for going bankrupt, that is impossible. Do you think Big Brother and Big Sister don't have the means to deal with us? They do. If Big Brother and Big Sister directly find us, then we will be honest." Xiao Bei said. "What do you mean by directly find us? Big Brother and Big Sister definitely won't do such a thing. Whatever methods we use to attack, they will use the same methods to counterattack." "Yes, counterattack, not just defense," Xiao Hai said to Xiao Bei. "Oh, then can we beat Big Brother and Big Sister?" Xiao Bei lost his confidence. "There is no need to beat Big Brother and Big Sister. As long as we cause trouble for the Great Tang private bank, Big Brother and Big Sister will probably be very happy to see that the Great Tang private bank is not really stable. It is because of Big Brother's existence that others do not dare to make a move. If we make a move, we can give the Great Tang private bank a warning. What is that saying again? Xiao Yuan. As Xiao Hai spoke, he could not recall it. In the story, one is born in sorrow and dies in peace and happiness. This was Xiao Yuan's strong suit, so he spoke without hesitation. Yes, that's it. Instead of waiting for others to make a move, why don't we make a move first? We can have a battle of offense and defense with Big Brother and Big Sister. We can learn a lot and see how Big Brother and Big Sister handle it. Xiao Hai became spirited and spoke more. He even increased the movement of his hands as he constantly gestured. All right, what do we do first? Xiao Bei asked. A mortgage loan. But it can't be in our name. We are too small. They won't give us a loan. Let the businessmen who work with us do the loan. Our 40 million string investment isn't all at once. There's a process in between, and it's divided into batches. But the merchants we're working with have already prepared the cash and put it in the Great Tang Bank. That is to say, the Great Tang Bank doesn't really have 80 million strings of cash, but 40 million strings of cash. We can first get the merchants to take out the loan. And when the Great Tang Bank has less money, we can take out the money at once. That way, the Great Tang Bank will have no reserves. What do you say? Little Hai continued to speak. All the children felt their eyes become brighter and brighter. So it was actually this easy to break into a bank? That's great. Just as they were rejoicing, the man from the inner courtyard raised his hand and spoke. Young master, young ladies, may I interrupt? Go ahead. Xiao Bei was excited, so he didn't stop others from interrupting. Well, it's like this. Since the Great Tang Bank's 80 million strings of cash is called a reserve, it naturally can't continue to lend. Therefore, if we ask the merchants to apply for a large loan, they won't be able to get it. If others apply for a small loan, they will have to see how much interest the bank can get back. Only when the loan exceeds 80 million strings of cash can the Great Tang Bank continue to lend. They are afraid that someone will take away the money like we did, and then be unable to pay. So this idea won't work. The man from the inner courtyard explained the situation to Xiao Bei and the others. Little Hai slapped his forehead and didn't say anything else. He realized that the idea he came up with in a hurry wouldn't work. How could he have forgotten this matter? Xiao Bei also frowned and said, It's fine. This method won't work. Let's think about it again. I know. Our goal is very simple. It's to make the bank run out of money, right? Then let's convert 40 million strings of cash. The merchants we're working with can't only have this much money, right? They must still have money in the bank. We'll take out the cash and give it to them, so that they can continue to take the money out. This way the bank will be finished. Then we'll spread the news that the Great Tang Bank is out of money. This will make the people who deposit money in the bank anxious, and go to the bank to take out the money. What do you think the Great Tang Bank will do? After Xiao Bei finished speaking, he felt that his idea was very useful. He waited for the others to praise and agree. The others thought about it, and didn't find anything wrong with it. Thus, they split up and sent telegrams to their business partners to discuss this matter. They also began to arrange for people to spread the news that the Great Tang Bank was empty and couldn't take out any more money. In the end, when everyone gathered together again at noon, their expressions had turned ugly. They are too poor. They still have the face to say that their capital can be ranked in the top 100 of the Great Tang. They are all people on the top list of billionaires, but none of them can take out any cash. Xiao Bei said gloomily. Xiao Yuan also imitated Lord He, took a deep breath, and then let out a long sigh. I also contacted them here. They said that the Great Tang Bank doesn't have all the money they gave us for the cooperation. Brother Xiao Hai, how much is it? Much less. According to my calculations, the people we're working with have only transferred 16 million strings of cash directly from the bank. The rest of the money is also borrowed from others. This time, they can't rely on their own cash to support the cooperation, but through financing means. They don't have much cash, and most of it is on goods. This is the normal business model. If they can really take out so much cash, they can't be ranked in the top 100. Xiao Hai explained. In other words, the other party used quasi-cash flow. The reason why it wasn't pure cash flow was because they didn't have much debt. It was just that they were not comfortable with negative capital operations. So it's like this. Then why does my family always have a lot of money? Uncle Emperor also has the same. Right, where did my family's money go? The Great Tang Bank's reserve of 80 million strings of cash can't all be my family's money, right? There's also Uncle Emperor's money. Uncle Emperor has 100 million strings of cash. As Xiaobei spoke, he finally realized the problem. If all the money in the Great Tang Bank was added together, it would only amount to 400 million. Excluding his family and Uncle Emperor's money, there was practically nothing left. Then the current reserve of 80 million strings of coins was simply not right. The other 8 children were the same. They were all confused. How did he get the money? After going around and around, a part of the money evaporated? Even the 2 younger children, Pan felt the distress of their brothers and sisters. Pan waved her small hands and said, "Money, money." At this time, the man in the inner courtyard also didn't know, because he didn't study this in the inner courtyard. It was even more impossible for him to know how his family's money was used. Go, find the relevant people in my group. I'll ask them. Xiaobei decided to figure this matter out. There were all kinds of people in the group. Soon 2 people in charge of capital operations came. One was surnamed Zhang, and the other was surnamed Wang. They were called Zhang Ben and Wang Fei. When the 2 entered the cabin, they also felt the difference in the atmosphere. But they didn't know what had happened. They looked at each other, and Zhang Ben asked, "Young master, young lady, why did you ask us to come here?" "I want to ask something. Where did our family's money go?" "And Uncle Emperor's?" Xiaobei asked. The 2 understood. Wang Fei thought for a moment and said, replying to young lady, "In truth, our family's money and His Majesty's money are also in the bank. However, this money is not directly calculated by the bank system. Instead, it goes through a different system." "Ah, another system?" Xiaobei had never heard of this before. Why? Because the young master said that he didn't have much energy to waste on the bank. He still had many things to do. If they went through the same system, the approximate amount of money in the bank would be easily leaked. This is because the bank also has to pay taxes to the court. If we can't fake the accounts, then the Ministry of Revenue in the court would very likely leak the secret. In that case, others would estimate the amount of money in the bank and use the method of running on the bank to deal with the bank. The bank would be greatly affected. The purpose of our family's money and His Majesty's money going through the other system is to hide behind the scenes. The Emperor's money doesn't need to be taxed. Our family's money is paid a fixed tax and turnover tax, so it has already been paid. This way, we also don't need to tell others how much money we have in the bank. Thus, when Wang Fei explained to this point, Zhang Ben continued, "Thus, these 2 very large amounts of money are hidden behind the scenes. The purpose is to wait for others to use various methods to run on the Great Tang Bank. Then we can take measures against them. Of course, our family's money and His Majesty's money are also used as capital. During this process, our family doesn't need to pay taxes. This is because most of the time, our family's money is used for disaster relief. This includes His Majesty's money. Normally, the money our family earns, and the money we give out for free form a balance." Xiaobei and the others now understood. Because they understood, they all became disheartened. Xiaobei rubbed his face and looked at the others. He said, "Our plan has failed. How much money our family has, and how much money Uncle Emperor has, we all have a rough idea, although we don't know the specifics. The Great Tang Bank indeed only has 20% of its reserves. If many people work together, it will be very easy to attack the bank. However, as long as elder brother doesn't do anything, everything will be fine. If he does, whoever attacks will be unlucky. A failure. Could it be that the bank doesn't have a loophole?" Panner also nodded. Bad luck, failure, Aya. It's bad luck. No, say it like this." Xiaobei didn't forget to teach Panner. "No, Aya." Pan followed up with another sentence, making the atmosphere a little more relaxed. Xiaobei and the group of children continued to squat in the corner and draw circles, trying to think of a solution. However, the rumors had already spread. The speed at which the rumors spread was very fast. They all used telegrams. In the afternoon, Zhang Xiaobao received news of the rumors. Li Longji hurriedly came over and said to Zhang Xiaobao, who was sunbathing with Wang Wan, "Look at what your younger brother and sister have done. They've made everyone anxious. What if they run on us?" "If they run on us, then so be it. A bank that hasn't experienced the risk of a run on us isn't a good bank. Only soldiers who have walked the line between life and death can fight a tough battle. From the moment the bank appeared until now, it hasn't been attacked at all. That won't do." Zhang Xiaobao appeared to be very calm, as if he wasn't worried at all. As soon as Li Longji saw Zhang Xiaobao's expression, he felt angry and said, "Why haven't you done anything big? When you kicked the other partners out, you didn't hold back. Then, you kicked yourself out as well. If you didn't go out and control the bank with me, how would others dare to run on us? How would they play tricks?" "Oh right, they played tricks. It was Xiao Bei and the others who did it. Tell me, why are your younger brother and sister, a group of little brats, so vengeful? Isn't it good to have a vengeful heart? Let others know that if you want to provoke them, you have to bear their retaliation. If you don't have the means to kill them in one blow, then it's best not to try. It's just like our Tang Empire. If other countries don't have the means to destroy Tang Empire in one blow, then they shouldn't lightly provoke us. Otherwise, they will have to bear the consequences that they can't bear." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he even put on a reasonable appearance. He didn't blame his younger siblings at all. Wang Wan didn't say anything as she basked in the sun. She knew what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking. He wanted to see who would make use of this opportunity to add fuel to the fire. At that time, he would deal with them. Naturally, he also had his own selfish motives. The ones who started the propaganda war were Xiao Bei and the others, so he wouldn't pursue this matter. If it was anyone else, he would deal with them together. After all, Xiao Bei and the others were still young. If he really wanted to pursue this matter, he would have to look at the two of them first. He clearly knew that his younger siblings weren't stable, so he didn't inform them beforehand. How could Li Longji know what Zhang Xiaobao was thinking? Right now, he was worried that everyone in Tang Empire would withdraw their money. If that happened, the bank wouldn't be able to afford it. What would the result be? Thus he asked, "Then what do we do now? Are we just going to let others take the money away?" "That's right. That's how it will be for the time being. I've already left 20% of the reserve for the Great Tang Bank. This is the time to test them. I'll see what the managers of the various places do, and how the chief manager arranges things. If there isn't a bank run, I'll even help behind the scenes. Only then can we nurture people. Your money will go through another system, so there's no need to worry that the bank won't be able to support it. If there's really no other way, we can just take out your money and my family's money. No matter what, we should have at least 50% of the reserve." When Zhang Xiaobao finally revealed what was going on with the money, Li Longji felt even more depressed. "Xiaobao, why didn't you tell us earlier? My money isn't in the bank. Then what am I worried about? I'm hungry. I want to eat steamed buns, big meat steamed buns, the kind with soup." Li Longji started thinking of other ways to get his money back. "It seems like we're thinking of the same thing. I also want to eat soup dumplings. The noodles have already been served. I'll steam them in a moment," Zhang Xiaobao said with a smile. "But us wants to eat dumplings again." Li Longji changed his mind. Your Majesty, you're making things difficult for me. You can't do this. A monarch doesn't take his words lightly." Zhang Xiaobao frowned and complained. Li Longji seemed very satisfied. "I'm not making things difficult for you. I've decided to eat dumplings. I want 1 pot of steamed dumplings and 1 pot of boiled dumplings." Just when Li Longji thought that Zhang Xiaobao would beg for mercy, a member of the inner court ran over from behind. Before he even got close, he said, "Young master, the matter of making dumplings has already been arranged. There are 3 kinds of fillings. Do you want to go and mix the ingredients?" Right away, Zhang Xiaobao turned around and ran towards the ship's kitchen. He didn't forget to turn around and shout at Li Longji, "Your Majesty, this subject accepts the decree. Dumplings steamed and boiled." Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao's departing figure, then at Wang Wan, who had also stood up and was about to leave. He said, "You're with such a shrewd person every day. Aren't you worried? Guess what us heard a few days ago? Your Majesty, you've heard as well. There's indeed such a matter. I have to find Xiao Bao and have a good talk with him. How could he do such a thing? Wang Wan left behind these words and also left. Li Longji was stunned. After a while he muttered, I don't even know what I heard. Xiao Bao, look at Cuckoo. She's so shrewd. Aren't you worried? Chapter 1042. After Wu Huifei finished speaking, she looked at everyone's faces. Empress Wang was at a loss. She didn't know what was going on. Gao Lishir was helpless. Li Longji and Wei Wei opened their mouths. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were calm, because they knew that someone would think of this problem. The 5-baht note was created for this reason, as well as the law roll, and the Zimbabwe money of nearly 100 years ago. This time, they didn't answer. Li Longji shook his head and said, My dear concubine, it won't work. If we really issue money, it will be like killing the chicken to get the eggs. The more money we issue, the more expensive the goods will be. Unless when we issue money, the great Tang doesn't have the imperial court to buy things. Instead, the money will be directly sent to every Tang person, according to a certain proportion. And even if that's the case, the amount of money involved in the contracts signed by some people in the past will also be unbalanced. Think of another way. Don't mention this in the future. Wu Huifei didn't say anything. She lowered her head and continued to think. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued eating their own dumplings. Gao Lishir, on the other hand, ate 2 dumplings. He wanted to figure out what other tricks Zhang Xiaobao had up his sleeve. Seeing that Zhang Xiaobao was almost done eating and drinking soup, he asked, Xiaobao, since we can't directly achieve our goal by issuing money, is there any other way to get through this crisis without using your family's and His Majesty's money? There are several methods. The first is that the bank borrows money from the underground bank. If it's discussed well, it can even borrow money at a very low interest rate. As long as you give the other party a promise, when the other party needs money, the Great Tang Bank will also provide the money at a very low interest rate. However, I don't agree with this method. Now that I'm in charge, the Great Tang Bank won't have a big problem for the time being. If one day I'm not in charge, it's very likely that the Great Tang Bank won't lend the money, even though it clearly has the money to lend. They would lend the money to the underground banks at a much higher interest rate, and then the underground banks would take the money and lend it to others at several times the interest rate of the Great Tang Bank. Next year, the capital will be allowed to exist, but it will absolutely not be allowed to exist in such an unbridled manner. Thus, if the Great Tang Bank borrows money from the underground bank, and the interest is not good, I will not care. But I will not allow the manager of the Great Tang Bank to make any promises. Zhang Xiaobao suggested a solution. Wang Wan nodded. She knew that this was a common phenomenon. No matter which system it was impossible to eliminate private capital, because the emergence of the banking industry was caused by the demand of private capital. It was not an independent industry in the first place. If it was truly independent, there would be no need for it to exist, and it would lose the soil for survival. Moreover, in some countries with certain systems, the country sometimes had to directly borrow money from the private capital. Even in their own country, there were also national debts. Li Longji and the others listened and Wei Wei nodded. Wu Huifei's eyes lit up even more, and she asked, Xiaobao, according to what you said, if the private underground banks unite, they can directly attack the Great Tang Bank, right? They can first deposit their money in the Great Tang Bank, and then wait for the Great Tang Bank to lend them money, and then they can just run on it. Yes, in theory this is the case. Such a situation can also occur, and it can even cause a country to go bankrupt. However, that is under the condition that other foreign capital enters, and it is because the country's own productivity cannot keep up. If a country does not seek fundamental development, but uses extreme financial means to obtain more foreign currency support, and wants to borrow the chicken to lay eggs, then the result will be that the chicken is gone, the eggs are gone, and even the nest will be torn down. After dealing with the matter in Jiangzhou, Cuckoo and I will go to the place where the Turks were originally located. I will use money to open the way, and go to other countries to stir up trouble. First, I will give them some benefits, and when the time comes, I will withdraw the money that I invested. When the time comes, it will be much easier to fight them. Zhang Xiaobao followed this topic and explained in detail what he had said to Li Longji, so that people could understand the matter more clearly. Wang Wan also said, let alone a small country, even a country larger than the Great Tang, can also fall into an unimaginable crisis if we use good methods. To deal with a small country, we only need to use economic sanctions. The prerequisite is that before the economic sanctions start, we have to let the other party form a close relationship with our economy. Moreover, we have to use necessary methods to impact the other party's economic system and make it unbalanced. Targeting agricultural products is the most effective method. For example, in the current Silla, Xiaobao still hasn't used the final step of sanctions. This is to further wear down the unity of the people. Otherwise, the other party will easily start a war. Even if they clearly know that they can't win, they will still fight. But once they lose the hearts of the people, will they still need to use force? They grow a lot of cotton, and cotton can't be eaten. Stop the supply of food, and support a few factions within their ranks. Let them play around. Wu Huifei had understood this matter, so she agreed. It should be about half a year. At that time, the summer grain will be harvested. This consort is looking forward to Cuckoo. Do you have any other methods to make the Great Tang Bank suffer an attack? Yes, the Great Tang Bank directly borrows money from the Imperial Court. The Imperial Court has the money, or the bank itself issues bonds. If the two are not enough, then take out the gold and silver, and directly exchange it for the currently popular paper money. This is also the reason why Xiao Bao obtained so much gold and silver, and didn't circulate it. Xiao Bao is afraid that when he is busy, someone will do bad things behind his back, and he won't be able to control it. Wang Wan mentioned 2 more methods. These were all commonly used methods. Let alone the bank, even the country had used them before. Of course, she also knew that all methods were ultimately superficial. The most important thing was whether the country used the power of politics. The currency issued by the country didn't match the actual resources, and exceeded a certain ratio. Okay, consort Hui, eat first. There are many ways. Just like marching to war, we have to change our tactics and not stick to formality. We also want to see how big of a wave this run on the banks will cause, and if the Great Tang's economic system is as sturdy as imagined. Seeing that Wu Huifei still wanted to ask more, Li Longji spoke out to dissuade her. Only then did Wu Huifei realize that she had only eaten 2 dumplings, and was still hungry. Unfortunately, Xiao Bao had specially prepared the stuffing, so she lowered her head and ate. While the cabin was calm and tranquil, the Great Tang outside was in the midst of a storm. Because the telegram had only reached the county level, and not the village level. When the rumor appeared, it hadn't spread to the villages yet. Only in the prefectures and counties could they hear the news that the Great Tang Bank had run out of money. This caused an uproar, and everyone had different reactions. The people who were most worried were those who had some assets in the bank and waited for interest. When they heard that the Great Tang Bank had run out of money, the first thing they thought of was to take their deposit certificates and try withdrawing the money. There was also a group of people who wanted to see the world in chaos. Not only did they withdraw the money themselves, they even told others that the Great Tang Bank only had this little bit of money, and if they took too long to withdraw it, it would be gone. The people who were the most calm were the businessmen. When they heard the rumor, they sneered. Those who had never played the game of Monopoly would never know the power of those who could enter the top 100. If they didn't know the power of those people, they wouldn't be able to imagine the power of Zhang Xiaobao, who was above them. The businessmen were very sure that Zhang Xiaobao was an invincible existence. How could he let the Great Tang Bank have any problems? Therefore, most of the businessmen didn't care about the nagging of their wives. If they were annoyed, they would directly use the family law. How could they not control them? Since the merchants did not move, the impact on the banks was much smaller. The managers of the banks in various places kept sending telegrams, and specifically went to find the local merchants to discuss matters. They suggested that if they really could not come up with cash to pay, they could borrow a portion of the money from the other party to deal with the emergency. In addition to these two groups of people, there was another group of people who were rich. They didn't have much money at home, but they weren't poor to the extent that they couldn't eat. They had some savings in the bank. This group of people belonged to the lowest class of people. They lived frugally and saved the money they had left in the bank. This gave them confidence, and at least they didn't have to worry about their lives. When many of them heard that the Great Tang Bank had a problem because of a temporary loan, and what they were most afraid of was that everyone would withdraw money only to find that the money they had lent would not be returned, those in charge of the family all sighed, and then took out their deposit certificates, looked at them, and put them away in a different place. Husband, the Great Tang Bank has no money. Right now, there are people lining up at the Great Tang Bank on the other side of the road to withdraw money. Where's our family's passbook? In a craftsman's house, a man was working on a piece of wood furniture. The rough shape was already done. Now, he was using a carving knife to carve patterns on the furniture. A woman came in and shouted. The man's hands didn't stop moving, and he softly replied, "Got it. Where's our family's passbook? Quickly take it out. I'll go get it too. If I don't go now, it will be too late." When the woman saw the man's expression, she was very angry and urged him. "I'm not taking it out." The man replied with 2 words. "If you don't take it out, it's gone." The woman had a look of disappointment on her face. The man's knife was still carving on the wood. It was a cloud. It had no fixed shape, and its shape was casual, but it was like a gentle breeze. "I'll go get it myself." The woman angrily went into the house. After a while, she came out with an ugly expression and asked, "Where's the passbook?" "I put it away." There are still people who owe money to the Great Tang Bank. They haven't returned it yet. When they return it, the bank will have money again. What's the hurry? The man said a few more words this time, but the carving knife didn't stop. "You prodigal man, return it back? What if it collapses early? All the hard-earned money will be gone. You tell me, where did you put it?" The woman's eyes widened. "If you don't return it back, you'll give it to the bank." "The money, I don't want it. When we bought this house, we borrowed money from the bank. Did the bank charge us interest? When they helped us, we were happy. Now that they are in trouble, you want me to hit them when they are down? If I were this kind of person, I would let down the Great Tang Bank today and do something bad to you tomorrow." The man finally stopped what he was doing and turned his head to the woman and shouted. The woman withered. Then you really don't want the money? If you can get it back, then get it back. If you can't get it back, then don't get it back. The children don't need money to go to school, and we don't need money to see the doctor. I can still feed you with these 2 hands. The man said slowly and firmly, "Father, Mother, I'm back. Mother, guess what good thing I encountered today?" "What is it?" While the husband and wife were talking, a little boy ran in with an even smaller little girl. As soon as they entered the courtyard, they shouted happily, "What good thing? The family's money is almost gone." The woman complained in a low voice, but after being glared at by the man, she didn't dare to say more. "It's Xiaobei. Mother, you know Xiaobei, right? She is the Tang dynasty's patrol inspector. She got a lot of money and wants to build 4,000 places in our Tang dynasty. In our county, there is a precious candy house. I went to ask, and the workers said that they want to build a fun place with a mirror. When it is built, my sister and I will go there to play. We don't need a single cent. Also, the little cripple grandson that the old cripple picked up can go there to get money. Every month, all the children who are not in good health can go there. Also, Mother, you don't have work to do, right? I heard that there is a place where you don't need to pay money or pay taxes. When the time comes, you can ask if people like you can join." The little boy said happily. The little girl wanted to interrupt but couldn't. She was so anxious that she jumped at the side and kept nodding. When the woman heard this, she was stunned. The man was also stunned. "Father, the Tang Dynasty Bank is managed by Xiaobao. Xiaobei is Xiaobao's sister, right? Do you think he took out all the money to do this? They should have done it bit by bit. Why do they need to make 4,000 at once? This. The woman also started to get anxious. If they make a few, will it be our county's turn? Go take out my screen and sell it. Buy it at a cheaper price. Don't wait for it to be expensive. After you buy the money, take it to the bank and deposit it. The man said and turned back to continue carving. The woman stood there and twisted the hem of her clothes. She thought for a while and gritted her teeth. Child, come with mother to get the screen. The Tang dynasty bank can't collapse, and neither can the Zhang family and Wang family. Ah, let's go. The little boy agreed and ran to the warehouse with his mother. This family was not the only one who had made a choice. Many commoners were also doing what they felt they should do. Therefore, at the entrance of various places in the Tang dynasty bank, there were different scenes. Some people were lining up to withdraw money, while others were lining up to deposit money. Chapter 1043. After replenishing their supplies, the fleet continued down the river without stopping at all. As noon passed, Xiao Bei and the others who had been wanting to teach the great Tang bank a lesson hurriedly ate something in low spirits. After that they could no longer eat. When the ship stopped to make one last short stop, they changed into even thinner clothes. They were now in the Chuzhou area, where the canal met the Huai River. People came and went at the dock like shuttles. Small boats moved back and forth on the river like fish jumping through the water. Let's think about it again. Let's start from their business contracts and see if we can find any loopholes. Xiao Bei said to his brothers and sisters beside him, as he watched the boats come and go on the river dejectedly. Let's talk about it later. Let's learn from them. Brother said that there is no complete system in this world. We can find loopholes in everything. Xiao Yuan had been busy for almost the whole morning, but he still couldn't think of a good way to take revenge. He was very helpless. Xiao Bei, let Grandpa fish with you, okay? Old Man Wang saw that the little guys were listless and felt uncomfortable in his heart. He wanted to find something fun to cheer them up. Looking down, he saw more than a dozen small boats not far from each other on the river. There were boys on the boats, pulling nets between the two boats. There were also boys swimming in the water, hitting the water to drive away the fish. The girls were singing crisply, the boys were playing flutes. Their voices pierced the clouds, bright but not sharp. Seeing this scene, Old Man Wang nudged Xiao Bei and said, Xiao Bei, Grandpa Fish will take you to play with the children, okay? Look, they're playing so well. Compete with them and see who's better at watching the water and catching fish. Xiao Bei looked in the direction Old Man Wang pointed and found that it was indeed so. His eyes lit up. He was about to turn back to the cabin and change into a diving suit when he suddenly felt that something was wrong. They came to catch fish to play. Don't they have lessons in the afternoon? Are they worthy of the money from the local merchants? Wait, Xiao Yuan, come down with me. Hurry up and change. Xiao Bei was thinking about this problem. He called Xiao Yuan and ran into the cabin first. By the time Xiao Yuan had also changed into a wetsuit, Xiao Bei had already been standing on the observation deck in front of the ship and waiting for a while. Jump. After saying the word jump to Xiao Yuan, Xiao Bei took the lead and jumped down. Can't we go down? Sooner or later, I'll be tormented to death by you. Xiao Yuan gritted his teeth and jumped down as well. With a splash, Xiao Yuan created a huge splash. After popping her head out, she complained to Xiao Bei beside her. My hand is red from slapping. We're on a 4-story ship. I know. It's not the 6th floor. It's only a dozen or so meters high. Follow me. Xiao Bei waved his hands and moved his 4 limbs at the same time. He quickly swam towards the group of children. Xiao Yuan could only do his best to chase after them. He wanted to continue complaining, but he couldn't find the words to say. As soon as the two entered the water, the situation on the surface of the water immediately changed. Many people who were fishing and transporting goods suddenly realized that the people on the boats beside them were unfamiliar faces. There were also many people swimming and playing in the river. They're so free. Instead of looking for work, they're swimming. How can they expect to live a good life? A person who was rowing in or looked at the 3 people who swam past the boat and shook his head with a sigh. She's good at swimming. Our family's child can't be compared to ordinary people. Old Man Wang stood at the bow of the boat and watched as Xiao Bei quickly approached the dozen or so boats like a fish. He stroked the beard under his chin and praised her. The others were silent. They were already used to it. This old man praised Xiaobei almost every day. Even if Xiaobei found a stone to smash the glass, he would also praise her for her strength. The children were strong and strong. Our family's child can't be compared to ordinary people. He's also sensible. Our family has a lot of glass. Xiaobei didn't know that someone was praising her. She swam to the dozen or so boats, and saw two children vigorously slapping the water with their hands to drive the fish towards the net. After a while, she disappeared without a trace. The two children thought that something had happened, and wanted to go down to look for her. Only then did Xiaobei pop up with her hands firmly grasping a fish. That's amazing. Catching fish with bare hands. I don't know how to do that. A boy looked at the fish in Xiaobei's hands with admiration in his eyes. The other asked, "How did you catch it?" "The fish swim very fast. I can't catch up." "Take it." Xiaobei passed the fish to Xiaoyuan, who had just caught up. She lowered her head and her body sank again. Xiaoyuan pressed the still swaying fish against his chest with one arm, freed up his other hand, and punched the fish's head twice. He then used his fingers to poke into the fish's eyes. Finally, the fish's struggling gradually became smaller. After a short while, Xiaobei popped its head out again. This time, it was holding an even bigger one. It was 2 feet long, and its eyes had long been pierced through. However, it was not completely dead yet. Its body twisted, and its tail slapped the surface of the water. "Can you teach us?" The boy who spoke first came closer, and looked at the fish enviously. He begged Xiaobei. "Okay, it's very simple. There needs to be a knack for catching fish. You can't catch just any fish." Xiaobei nodded and threw the fish to another child. The boy listened very seriously. When Xiaobei finished speaking, he asked, "What kind of fish do you want to catch?" "Pick the stupid fish to catch." Fish also need to learn skills. Those who don't learn or can't learn will naturally be caught by others. So you have to observe, and see which fish don't usually go to class, and play around with others. Once you find them, you'll be able to catch one. Xiaobei pointed at the fish in Xiaoyuan's hands, indicating that it did not attend classes. Fish also attend classes? The boy's IQ was obviously lower, and he asked in puzzlement. Xiaobei nodded solemnly. Of course. If people attend classes, why don't fish attend classes? If fish skip classes, they will be caught in the future. If people skip classes, they can forget about having a future. Humph. Who are you calling a future? The boy's IQ rose sharply and he shouted loudly. Whoever skips classes is a future. Xiaobei's voice was also not soft. Do you know why we skip classes? The boy was very angry. Why should I care? I only know that you should be sitting in class now. Xiaobei was even angrier. What right do you have to care about us? The boy looked at Xiaobei with disgust. Stop arguing, stop arguing. Quick, come with me and send this fish to the restaurant. It's a big sea bass. If you cut it, it can be sold for at least 400 copper coins. When we deposit it in the Great Tang Bank, we can let the bank bear an additional 400 copper coins. When it dies, it won't be worth anything. The other child was trying hard to drag the fish and swim to the side of the boat. The child, who was even more noisy than Xiaobei, suddenly reacted and turned to help. He did not forget to turn back and stick out his tongue at Xiaobei. I'm not giving you the fish, Lolyalu. Xiaobei did not make any movements until the two children brought the fish to the boat and let the boat bring them to shore. She just stood in the water. When the water reached her neck, it did not rise anymore. Hey, why are you in a daze? Swim up. Do you want to commit suicide? Xiaoyuan carried another fish and stepped over, shouting at Xiaobei. Xiaobei turned her head. Her body floated up and stopped at the exposed part of her chest. She asked Xiaobei, "Did you hear what they said?" "I heard them. They are thinking of ways to earn money and deposit it in the Great Tang Bank, so that they can help others withdraw money. They are afraid that the Great Tang Bank will be forced to withdraw money. They don't know how strong the Great Tang Bank is. What do you want to say?" Xiaoyuan touched Xiaobei with the fish and said according to what the child shouted just now. Xiaobei's mouth twitched. "It's all my fault. If I didn't want to take revenge, they wouldn't have come out to fish. I even scolded them just now." Xiaoyuan scratched her head with one hand. When she saw the people from the protection team swimming over, she said to Xiaobei, Why didn't they take revenge? Brother and sister didn't scold us. How could they not know? I guess the people who save money are not only children, but also adults. If this didn't happen, how would we know that there are many people who care about us? We are working hard for the children of the Great Tang. And the children of the Great Tang are also working hard for us. Isn't that good? Xiaobei looked at Xiao Yuan and lowered his head to think. When the people from the protection team came to him, he said, "Let me think." As he spoke, Xiaobei's hands and feet moved rhythmically, and his body sank straight down. Xiao Yuan shook his head at Wei Wei, who was swimming over, and signaled her not to come over. He held the fish and waited. He didn't think that Xiaobei would commit suicide. His brother and sister said that when you need to take responsibility, using death to escape was the most cowardly action. Sure enough, after about 2 minutes, Xiaobei came up again with a fish in his hand. He said angrily, "I wanted to stay down for a while, but it dared to run away from me." Okay, you are good. Let's go back." Xiao Yuan could also catch fish with his bare hands, but he definitely couldn't do it as easily as Xiaobei. He was clearly the white stripe in the waves, in his brother and sister's story. However, Xiaobei shook his head. "No, they will take it as a day off. We will fish with them. When we catch fish, we will sell it for money and let them save it. This money is theirs. Then catch fish? Time to catch fish." Xiao Yuan waved his hand, and the people from the protection team started to get busy. Once everyone joined in, the speed of catching fish increased significantly, especially Xiaobei. He asked the people from the protection team for an iron skewer and dove into the water. He caught 1 fish in one go. The children who asked for leave to fish were happy. They were responsible for sending the fish to the shore, and the people on the shore would take care of them and transport them to the restaurant. The restaurants were also divided into different grades. Some restaurants took the opportunity to lower the price. After the children asked, they turned around and left. Some restaurant managers heard that the children were saving money to support the Great Tang Bank. So they offered a high price and told the children to be careful not to drown. They even asked the children to come over for dinner at night. The children didn't thank them. Not only did they not thank the restaurant managers, but they also didn't thank Xiaobei and the others. Their thoughts were very simple. They felt that everyone was helping the Great Tang Bank, so it was natural for them to do so. Those who didn't help the Great Tang Bank, and instead added insult to injury, were the ones who were hateful. The number of onlookers on the shore gradually increased. Xiaobei focused on catching the carp and perch. Every time Xiaobei caught a fish, and the children carried it to the shore, someone would immediately shout out a price to buy it. They would then find a restaurant to have it made into fish slices. The fresh and high-quality fish gave a different feeling when eating it. While Xiaobei and Xiao Yuan were working hard to catch fish, Xiao Hai and the others also came down. Even the Li siblings came down to join in the fun. They also knew how to swim, but they weren't good swimmers. They had no problem swimming in the swimming pool, but at the intersection of the canal and the Huai River, people like them would drown. Therefore, the 2 of them were given life jackets and arranged for people to protect them. They were allowed to participate in various activities. Even if their intelligence couldn't keep up, they could at least leave some impression. Xiao Hai swam over and asked Xiaobei, "How are you? Are you tired?" "No, I didn't use much strength. I just feel uncomfortable." If I didn't insist, they would still be sitting in the school. Xiaobei complained to his brother. Xiao Hai gave a rare smile and said to his sister, "You've done a good job this time." Brother and sister just sent news that the Great Tang Bank will begin to take out a portion of our family's money at noon tomorrow. They will inform the depositors of the bank's strength. At the same time, it will end at noon tomorrow. Starting from this morning, those who deposit money at noon tomorrow will have their deposit interest increased by 400%. Those who don't withdraw money from the bank will have their deposit interest increased by 100%. Those who take a loan from the bank, deposit money, and withdraw money will be more stringent in the future. Starting from noon tomorrow, the Great Tang Bank's deposit interest will be reduced by 30%. Let me think. According to this, starting from this morning and ending at noon tomorrow, Those who deposit money will have their deposit doubled in a little more than 3 years? The great Tang Bank is so rich. Xiaobei quickly calculated the general situation of the interest. 4 times the interest, in more than 3 years, 1 copper coin would become 2 copper coins, and 2 copper coins would become 4 copper coins. Then he shouted happily, "That's great. Good people deserve good karma. Quick, quick, help me catch some fish. Sell it to the children who play truant. Sell it to them for more money. In 3 years, they will have more money to spend." Brother and sister are amazing. They immediately thought of a good idea. I was worried about how to repay others. Now I want to see if those people who withdraw money will still dare to take advantage of me in the future. Xiao Hai smiled again and said, "Brother and sister also want to tell you that the manager of the Great Tang Bank in Shuzhou has been resigned. They want you to stop thinking about taking revenge on him." He took the initiative to admit his mistake and wrote a self-reflection. Xiaobei was not happy at all when he heard this news. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, Actually, I don't want to do anything to him. I just feel that he doesn't value us. He clearly knows that we are going to take a loan and won't spend the money blindly. He must have thought of helping others, but he still insisted on that rule. I am very unhappy. Was it possible to get him back? A person who can be a manager of a place is not bad. We can't lose a talent because of us. At the same time that he resigned from the position of manager of the Shuzhou Bank, he also handed in a proposal. He said that there will be a reward system for children who do well in school. Moreover, the money that the children earn from catching toads, catching fish, digging up cicadas, and other work in their free time will be quickly spent by the children if they are not managed. He wants to set up a children's savings business. He wants to be in charge of this, so that the children will know how to save and save for emergencies. Having a sum of money that the children can use freely is also a kind of happiness for the children. At the same time, he wants to encourage the children to study hard and accumulate more money through scholarships. Brother has already agreed. He will be transferred to the capital to be in charge of this business. Xiaobei was no longer vexed. He happily dove into the water and caught another fish. He said, "See, I told you. A talent is a talent. Even if he's not in charge anymore, he can still think of better ideas. I have a good idea. Help me remember it and tell him later. It is that the child's passbook must be very beautiful. Moreover, every child who saves money must give a beautiful gift when they first save money, such as a bracelet, a hat, a belt, etc., so that people will know at a glance that he or she is saving money." Chapter 1044. During the bank run, Zhang Xiaobao didn't have to spend too much energy to calm his younger siblings down. But he also won the hearts of countless supporters. Xiaobei and the others recovered very quickly. They helped others catch fish for an entire afternoon. The dozen or so children who had skipped class to catch fish had all deposited a large amount of money in the Great Tang Bank. Naturally, it was their parents who had helped them deposit the money. Their business had not started yet. It wasn't until the evening when Xiaobei and the others left on the boat and continued to head south that the children knew the identity of Xiaobei and the others. They all stood by the river and watched the boat disappear into the distance. They watched the sun slowly set in the west like an egg yolk and dyed the sky red. Their hearts were peaceful. Only when the person sent by the manager of the restaurant, who had treated them to a meal, called out to them, did they reveal happy smiles. Forgetting their tiredness, they skipped towards the restaurant together. The children who caught fish were happy. Compared to being able to see Xiaobei and the others, the amount of money in the bank was not so important. Many years later, they could proudly tell their descendants about what happened today. A portion of the crowd was also happy at noon the next day. The next day, just after noon, the branches of the Tang Bank all opened for business in the afternoon. At the same time, bundles of Tang banknotes were piled on the counter of the bank. The denominations ranged from 10 strings of coins to 500 strings of coins. The colors were colorful. When the people who wanted to withdraw money and deposit money saw it, they made a similar expression, which was shock. Then, annoyed voices and happy shouts echoed one after another in the bank. At this time, the bank also put up a public notice board. The blackboard was painted with ink, and the white chalk words were very dazzling. Little brother-in-law of the Zhang family, you can read. Help me see what's written. My son has gone to school. Otherwise, I can drag him here to read. A woman who was depositing money didn't recognize the words on the blackboard. She asked the person next to her, who was going to withdraw money. She didn't show any embarrassment on her face because she didn't know how to read. Instead, she emphasized that he was her son with a hint of pride. The brother-in-law of the Zhang family knew why she was like this. It was because her son had ranked first in the school for 3 consecutive quarters. The rewards he received were enough to feed 2 people in her family. In addition to the symbolic monetary rewards, there were also cloth, rice, meat, and vegetable oil. Before the new year, she even received 4 pieces of pork. With such children, every adult should be proud of them. The children were happy when they learned. The merchants were happy when they received rewards. And the adults were even happier when they ate what the children received. However, this brother-in-law was not happy. He had already withdrawn 4 strings of cash yesterday, but he could not find today's passbook. When he got up in the morning, he scolded his wife for a while, and then rummaged through the cupboard for the whole morning, before he took out the passbook from the gap of the mattress. When the great Tang bank opened for business in the afternoon, he rushed over. He never thought that the difference between reality and imagination was too great. That black and white announcement, as well as the colorful coins, made him want to find a hole to crawl into and return to the past. Brother-in-law of the Zhang family, what did you write? The woman continued to ask. She could see that there was something wrong with his expression, but she couldn't think of the specific reason. She could only guess that the words on the blackboard were not very good for people who wanted to withdraw money. The brother-in-law of the Zhang family tightly held the passbook in his hand. He saw that the passbook had changed shape, but he didn't know. He said to the woman blankly, I finally know the strength of the great Tang bank. Zhang Xiaobao will always be Zhang Xiaobao. It's a pity that I don't have any medicine for regret. It's written on it written. The woman was a little scared. These words were too scary. It seemed that he wanted to kill himself, so she didn't say anything. However, a woman next to her who was also depositing money pulled her aside and said, Sister, I'll tell you what it says. When my daughter comes home, she always wants to teach me how to read. It's good that I can recognize those words. Sister, you tell me. The woman was more envious of her literacy. When my child comes back today, I'll also ask him to teach me. Good, I know that your son studies well. Every time my daughter talks about him, she's always envious. Someday, I'll get my daughter to help out at your place. Look at her, isn't she cute? I think your son isn't bad. Oh, let's not talk about this first. It says that the Great Tang Bank announced today that all the banks have used the second-level currency reserves, a total of 100 million strings of coins. People who withdraw money don't have to rush and don't be crowded. If the 100 million strings of coins are withdrawn, there will be 200 million strings of coins released later. As long as you want to withdraw money, you don't have to worry about not being able to withdraw money. Moreover, the bank will operate until midnight. The people in the bank won't rest. Sister, look at that pile of money, there's still 500 strings of coins. Even if a merchant comes to withdraw money, there's still no need to worry. The literate woman first looked like she wanted to sell her daughter, and then she talked about the words on the blackboard. Hearing her words, the woman who asked the question revealed a smile. The Great Tang Bank seems to be really rich. My husband and I were worried that they wouldn't have enough money and would collapse in the end. Now everything is fine. But why does the Zhang family's brother-in-law look unhappy? He can withdraw money now. Sister, that's because he saw another content. The Great Tang Bank said that they don't lack money, but in less than 2 days, they received something more precious than money. Thus, there was a reward activity, starting from yesterday morning until noon today, which is when the bank closes in the morning. All the people who saved money during that time will have the interest calculated at 4 times the original amount. For those who didn't withdraw their money during that period of time, the interest will be doubled from the time they deposited the money. Yesterday, I deposited 45 strings of cash. In a little more than 3 years, it will become 90 strings of cash. The literate woman became excited as she spoke. She calculated the interest and came to a conclusion. Really? Yesterday, I also saved 32 strings of coins. Today, I just saved 3 strings of coins. It's a pity that I saved too late. If I had come in the morning, I would have saved a lot more. Sister, what if I saved now? When the woman heard that the interest was 4 times the original amount, she was afraid that it was a trap. She pinched her arm with all her strength until she felt the pain. Only then did she relax. She then asked, if I save now, won't it be 4 times the original amount? It's more than 4 times the original amount. The Great Tang Bank has adjusted the new interest rate. If I save now, I can only get 70% of the original amount. It's decreased by 30%. That means that the people who started to withdraw money yesterday will lose a lot. Sister, think about it. If they withdraw money, they won't spend it immediately. What's the use of keeping it? If they want to save it in the bank again, they will lose at least several times the original amount. It's not easy to calculate. In any case, it's more than 4 times the original amount. When the literate woman spoke, she looked at the younger brother-in-law of the Zhang family. There was a hint of schadenfreude in her words. The younger brother-in-law of the Zhang family turned green. He had calculated that the biggest loss from withdrawal was nearly 6 times the original amount of the depositor. If he wanted to double the amount now, it would take 20 years. What he wanted to do the most was to smash the Great Tang Bank. It was too much of a bully. Saving and withdrawing money was normal. Why should he give others benefits when he withdrew money, but suffer a loss? What if he withdrew money because he was in a hurry? However, a thought was a thought. He didn't dare to smash the Great Tang Bank. He didn't even dare to say anything unpleasant to them. He was very clear about who was behind the Great Tang Bank. I'm a fool. The Great Tang Bank is managed by Zhang Xiaobao. How could he let people withdraw money from the bank? His family is so rich. I'm blinded by pork. As he thought about it, he squatted down in annoyance and pulled at his hair with all his strength. The people who also wanted to withdraw money, and the people who were going through the procedures at the counter stopped when they heard this. Sir, your money is 71 strings of coins and 251 copper coins. Please count it and keep it well. A person who was handling the withdrawal business put a passbook and different amounts of money on the counter. There was also a copper coin inside, and said to the stunned person, withdraw it. I won't withdraw it. Why are you so fast? I won't withdraw it, okay? The person was even more stupid. The salesperson gently shook his head and gave the person an apologetic smile. He said, the procedures have been completed. If you don't need too much money for the time being, you can deposit it again. What about the interest? Is it doubled? The person stared and asked. Because the bank has readjusted the deposit interest rate. If you deposit it now, you can only deposit it at 70% of the original interest rate. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I won't do it again. In the future, even if the Great Tang Bank says it's going bankrupt, I won't withdraw money. Give me a chance. I saved the money last January and have been saving it for more than a year. Double the interest is equivalent to 2.5 years of saving. Tell your manager that I won't withdraw it and will still calculate it at the original interest rate. Is that okay? Even if it's a little less, I won't use double, even if it's 50%. Young lady, please help me. Who doesn't have difficulties? Help me this time, and I will definitely repay you. The person who was withdrawing money was crying. He leaned on the counter and begged the salesperson with a weak appearance. Before the salesperson could refuse again with a smile, a man next to him who wanted to deposit money and whose body was not greasy took over and shouted at the person who was leaning on the counter, refusing to leave. Hey, you fruit pancake seller, don't you have any shame? I know you. Last time, you wanted to get a good fruit pancake tool. I wanted to borrow money to buy a pig. We came here together. The bank checked our household registration and borrowed the money together. It's interest-free. What did you say at that time? You said that you will remember this kindness and will repay it in the future. Is this how you repay it? You still have the face to say, who doesn't have difficulties? When you have difficulties, others help you. When others have difficulties, you want to make things worse for them. There is no medicine for regret in this world. Now you know how powerful Zhang Xiaobao is. Why don't you know how to cross the bridge between the Zhang family and the Wang family? It's called one thought to heaven and one thought to hell. You walk the road yourself. Who do you blame? Take the money and get lost. If you dare to be noisy again, I will slap you. I was wrong. I really won't withdraw money in the future. I was wrong. The person continued to mutter as if he didn't hear it. The salesperson shook his head helplessly and looked at the guards next to him. Immediately, 2 guards came over and carried the person to the side to find a doctor. Next, the salesperson's voice was as pleasant as usual. The second person who wanted to withdraw money refused to move forward. He shook his head like a rattledrum. I'm not withdrawing money. I'm just looking. Yes, I went to the wrong place. What am I going to do today? There are so many things to do. Oh, I remember. I'm going to buy cloth. Yes, cloth. I won't delay your work. I'm leaving first. After he finished speaking, he turned and left. The third person didn't even say anything and followed him with his head down. In just a short time, the row of people who wanted to withdraw money disappeared. Fortunately, the door was wide enough. Otherwise, 2 people would have died. Bah, serves them right. If it were up to me, I should have waited a little longer. I should have put out the notice tomorrow night and asked them to withdraw all the money. If they withdrew all the money, I could have saved an extra portion and added some interest. Great, now it's 70%. Come, I'll save what I have. 70% it is. If I keep it in my hands, I won't get any interest. A person standing at the deposit counter looked at the person who left, spat disdainfully, and pushed the money back. Such scenes played out in different places. While countless people of the great Tang felt the warmth and coldness of the world, they also had to ask themselves what they were thinking when they made their choice. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care about other people's thoughts at all. Anyway, he did what he should do, which was to repay injustice with justice, and to repay kindness with kindness. I'm a saint now. That's what saints do. After this incident, let's see if anyone dares to hit me when I'm in trouble next time. Zhang Xiaobao held a glass of wine and said to Wang Wan. But from his words, it seemed like he was looking for an excuse for himself. Wang Wan was still doing her embroidery. Hearing this, she raised her head and said, "Many people will be sad. What if someone takes it too hard and commits suicide? Don't you feel responsible?" "What do you mean? They shouldn't be sad. But I should be sad. I have a backup plan. What if I don't prepare? What will happen to the Tang Bank? Although it can't be closed down because of a bank run, it will make many people doubt it. The only way is to not handle the business of withdrawing money for others. Our reputation will plummet. What we lose is not only the reputation of the bank, but also the reputation of the court and our family. In the future, my words won't be as useful as they are now. Suicide? I don't believe that someone will commit suicide because of a lower interest. They don't lack capital. If someone really commits suicide because of a lower interest, then how many people do you think will die? I've heard of people committing suicide because they failed in stocks, futures, and gambling, but I've never heard of people committing suicide because of a lower interest. Besides, I don't care if someone commits suicide because of a lower interest. If the Tang Bank collapses and I commit suicide, how many people in the bank will pity me? Zhang Xiaobao looked like he was very angry. Wang Wan sighed and said nothing more. She also understood that Zhang Xiaobao was right. Many people who tried to run the bank, even if they really did cause the Tang Bank to collapse, and then found out that Zhang Xiaobao had committed suicide, they wouldn't have much of a reaction. There were even some people who rejoiced in others' misfortune. Occasionally in their free time, they would talk to others. There had once been a person who had stood on the altar and fallen like this. That person was an existence that reigned above the ranks of the wealthiest people. This was the disregard for life, the special excitement of someone who had fallen from a high position. Thinking of this, Wang Wan felt a little sad. She and Xiao Bao had done many things for Great Tang. But in the end, when the Tang Bank was in danger, there were still many people who weren't willing to stand with them. Ignorance. No matter how much you educate them, those who should be ignorant will still be ignorant. They might have never thought about what would happen to Great Tang if the Tang Bank was gone and Zhang Xiaobao was finished. What would happen to Great Tang then? They might think that as long as they have money in their hands, they don't have to be afraid of anything. It seems that we have to teach them more about politics and economics in the future. Xiaobao, don't you think so? Wang Wan asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Indeed. At the very least, we have to let them know that money isn't useful just because they have it in their hands. Let alone paper money. Even if they have gold and silver at home, they won't have good days ahead of them if the political situation isn't stable. Right now we've been controlling the salt tax with Lilongji, and it's very low. There hasn't been a situation where the commoners have to spend a lot of money to eat salt. And the annexation of land has also been stopped. Otherwise, even if they have 10,000 taels of gold at home, their fate is to be snatched away by others. Those fools, not only are they short-sighted, they even dare to question me. Do you think that kind of trick will work on me? Alright, I know you're capable. Go do your thing and don't disturb me, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile before lowering her head and continuing to embroider her flower. But she couldn't calm down. She had realized that it was only because of her and Xiaobao's strength that the Great Tang was able to operate normally. If the two of them were to suddenly withdraw from the situation, countless people would fight over their stalls. If that was the case, it would be better for her and Xiaobao to withdraw from the situation and allow everything to return to the path that the Great Tang should have taken. Even if there were problems, they would be able to persist for several decades. What the two of them needed to do now was to gradually perfect the system of the Great Tang, so that the people would get used to living and doing things according to the system. At that time, even if the two of them were to withdraw from the situation, the Great Tang wouldn't fall into chaos. After all, the people would already have the habit of following the system. But this system was too difficult. It wasn't that the imperial power didn't want to change, but that it couldn't be changed immediately. That required the development of production technology and productivity to reach a certain level, as well as the knowledge and culture of the people to reach a level where they had no choice but to change. The process of turning imperial power into a democracy, like that of the West, was extremely long. To change it in just a few decades required an enormous investment of both internal and external energy. It was simply impossible at the moment. Let's wait. Let's wait for the next generation to do it. When the time comes, we'll see which system is good and use it. Or perhaps we'll come up with a new system. Under the framework of a constitutional monarchy, we'll preserve a portion of the sovereign's power and walk the line between democracy and non-democracy. Wang Wan said a few more words. Zhang Xiaobao put down his brush and helplessly said, "Just continue embroidering your flowers. What's the point of researching this? A system is only adaptability, not absoluteness. According to the needs of different social environments, different systems are correct. We can't put the system first. What needs to be put first is the needs of society. The system can be changed, but the goal of survival can't be changed. That is to live for a better life." What do you mean by live or die? Tell us about it. We're very happy today. The situation of the various regions has been reported to us one after another. Let those disobedient commoners know that they have to work together to protect Great Tang. Yes, only then can they live properly. Right after Zhang Xiaobao said those words, Li Longji's voice sounded. At the same time, he appeared at the entrance of the cabin. Wang Wan continued to embroider with her head lowered, while Zhang Xiaobao continued to write. The two of them acted as if they didn't see Li Longji's arrival. In truth, they had already heard Li Longji's footsteps, and Zhang Xiaobao had intentionally said those words for them to hear. Seeing that the two of them didn't respond, Li Longji didn't get angry. Instead, he continued, "Xiaobao, after the interest on deposits is adjusted, do you think that the interest on loans should be adjusted as well? Should it be adjusted back in the future? Why is it this kind of question again?" Zhang Xiaobao raised his head and sighed. If we aren't concerned about this question, what should we be concerned about? Are you going to adjust it or not? Give me an answer. Li Longji glared at him. Adjust it? Since the interest on deposits is lowered, the interest on loans should naturally be lowered as well. If we don't adjust it, wouldn't those who want loans run to the commoners to borrow money? This will cause an abnormal concentration of capital. In truth, I was originally thinking of lowering the interest rate, but I was waiting for a suitable opportunity. It just so happened that Xiaobei and the others were reporting to the manager of the bank, so I did it together. Otherwise, why didn't you start a propaganda war with others? Why didn't you stop Xiaobei and the others? This time, you've gained an advantage. You've won a portion of the people's hearts, warned a portion of the people, and strengthened the position of the great Tang Bank in the hearts of the commoners. At the same time, you've also completed your plan to lower the interest rate. Say, what do you want us to say about you? You even want to make use of Xiaobei and the others. You're truly too unqualified as an elder brother. Li Longji first praised Zhang Xiaobao, and then he began to criticize him. Zhang Xiaobao didn't care. It was Xiaobei and the others who helped us. If not for this matter, I wouldn't have known the general situation of the people. It seems that we don't need to worry about the internal strife of the Great Tang when we launch an invasion in the future. By lowering the interest rate, we can accomplish two things. The first is to promote consumption. When the commoners realize that the interest rate is lower, they'll be willing to take out their money to buy things. However, we have to control the prices of goods properly. It's easy for the price of some goods to rise too much in a short period of time. The second goal is to have those who want to borrow more when the interest rate of the bank is lowered. Then, they can use the money to develop their own industries. Starting from a small scale, they can research production techniques and improve management, thus raising production efficiency and creating more material resources. But at the same time, they have to be controlled. They can't develop their industries by encroaching on other people's land, and they can't develop their industries by exploiting the natural resources of the Great Tang. The best result is for them to follow in the footsteps of the Great Tang army and plunder outside, to produce locally before transporting back to our Great Tang for the commoners to use. Li Longji nodded and said, "Give it to a portion of the Great Tang commoners to use. We shouldn't care about those who run on the banks." Zhang Xiaobao was amused by Li Longji's words, and Wang Wan didn't dare to continue embroidering for fear of prickling her hands. After stopping, Wang Wan said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, you're the emperor. You can't argue with the commoners. If the commoners aren't good, then it means that you haven't been fooled enough. You haven't educated the commoners well. So how can you push the blame onto the commoners?" That's right. The commoners are adorable. The appearance of the bank only means that we haven't done our job well. I believe that if we don't change the way we treat the commoners and work hard for them, there will come a day when the commoners of our Great Tang are faced with this matter once more. When someone withdrew money, it wasn't for the sake of running on the banks, but because they happened to be in need of money. When someone saved money, it wasn't to protect the Great Tang Bank, but because they felt that keeping the money in their hands would cause it to depreciate. Zhang Xiaobao echoed. So it's our fault then? How long will it take for them to reach the level the two of you speak of? Li Longji faintly said. He felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. He felt like he had been betrayed by many people, and it was an indescribable feeling. It won't take too long. There might be a run on the banks right now, but if someone says that they want the commoners of a certain area to rebel, there won't be any commoners who will follow them. As long as we maintain our governance, ensure the development of productivity, speed up the education of knowledge, and consolidate Great Tang's military and economic superiority, we'll be able to achieve our goal in 10 years at most. Of course, we can't expect to have every single commoner listen to us. But at that time, there will be very few who don't listen, and we can just deal with those who don't listen. Even if we can't do the favor, we still have the law and punishment. With both of these, society will be stable. Why isn't the data out yet? You're making me wait. As Zhang Xiaobao consoled Li Longji, he occasionally glanced at the door. What data are you waiting for? Li Longji also turned his head to look at the door and asked. The data of the bank. We can't let something like this happen for nothing. I have to see what's special about the situation. I'm coming. Zhang Xiaobao paused. As expected, 5 breaths later, someone from the inner court appeared at the door. He looked inside before walking in and saying to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "Little young master, little miss, the data has just been compiled. And it's not too complete. There's still a portion that will have to be compiled at night. Please take a look. There's no need to rush. Tell me, what's the situation?" Zhang Xiaobao gestured for the person from the inner court to explain. Yes, after the Great Tang Bank ran on its banks, from yesterday morning to noon, various places paid out a total of 43.2 million strings of cash. At the same time, more than 36.1 million strings of cash were deposited, so there wasn't much of an impact. The expenditure of various places varies according to the degree of prosperity, which is basically consistent with the law. The only problem is the Jiangnan West Road. From yesterday morning to noon today, the entire Jiangnan West Road unconventionally paid out 7 million strings of cash, and there were people from other places transferring money to the bank there. They're probably trying to empty the Jiangnan West Road bank of cash. Our bank system has just responded, urgently transferring cash from the nearby banks to the Jiangnan West Road Bank. The transportation team has already set off under layers of protection, the inner court explained. Chapter 1045. Idiot. Li Longji commented after Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished speaking. At the same time, he looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, hoping that they would agree with his judgment. Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan frowned at the same time. They looked at each other and nodded at the same time. It's interesting to deal with such an opponent, Zhang Xiaobao commented. Wang Wan also said, "What should we do to create a diversion? We'll beat them at their own game and lure the snake out of its hole," Zhang Xiaobao replied. Could it be that someone is stupid? Li Longji understood the meaning behind their words and asked with uncertainty, "If they're not stupid, maybe we can turn the act into reality. Investigate the owners of the transfer accounts and deposit accounts. Compile the information on the large deposit accounts in the past 6 months. Send the guards to the west of Jiangnan to enter a state of combat readiness. Increase the activity of the spy system. The Ministry of Works and the Agricultural Temple Research Institute will increase the defense forces and hold a recruitment competition in early summer. The time will be set to be half a month later. In addition, speed up the construction of the railway and recruit new medical students. The current students will immediately undergo the basic medical examination. Those who pass will be sent to the nearest place, and those who pass will be sent to the surrounding area in turn. We'll rotate layer by layer to increase the number of medical personnel in Tang as fast as possible." Zhang Xiaobao replied to Li Longji and issued a series of orders to the inner court. After that, he turned to look at Wang Wan. Wang Wan nodded lightly and then said, "Order. Our troops stationed in Shanshan City in the east of Qinghai Lake will split up and go around Qinghai Lake. We'll move to the northwest at the same time. We'll practice to adapt to the environment and cooperate with guns and cannons along the way. Continue to increase the supply of meat and wheaten food in the name of rescuing the Tubo disaster. When we reach Pengzhou Pass, recruit the local people to secretly make military food. We'll conscript the surplus ships of the merchants in Jiannan province, fill them with fodder, and enter the Ruoshui River of Jinshuan. We'll go against the current north and stop at Mizang. Our Yellow River fleet will head west and gather at the Bailan tribe downstream of the source of the Yellow River. Don't travel empty-handed. Also, send some things to the tribes along the way. Choose what they don't produce locally. We don't need seafood. There's a saltwater lake there, so we can send tea leaves. Also, we can hire locals to go to Qinghai Lake to help make Huangyu products." The people in the inner courtyard took note of it seriously. When they turned and walked to the door of the cabin, Zhang Xiaobao added, "Tell Xiaobei and the others that they will only stay in Hangzhou for 2 days at most. No matter who they meet, as long as they are friendly with them, invite them to Jiangzhou. If they follow, bring them along. If they refuse, arrest them." Yes. The inner yard disciple left. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan immediately lowered their heads and continued to write. After each finished writing a page, they didn't look at each other. They each called for their respective inner courtyards, solemnly handed the pages to each other, and waved their hands to let them leave. Li Longji listened and watched from the side. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were done with their work, he looked at them with a puzzled expression. Finally, he couldn't help but ask, "What exactly do you two want to do?" "The Ministry of Works, the Agricultural Temple, the Medical College, the Army and Supplies. Do you want to act in advance?" Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shook their heads and said at the same time, "Let's make the Tang Empire busy." "What's the benefit of being busy?" Li Longji asked again. "Cooperate with the other party," Wang Wan answered. "Find someone to play a game," Zhang Xiaobao answered. Li Longji was confused. He thought about it and asked, "Can you bring me along to play?" "Well, okay. Every 2 days, send a group of people to the government offices in various places of the Tang Empire to patrol. Send 7 groups in a row. Then order the local troops to strictly check the people entering and leaving." "That's enough." Zhang Xiaobao pretended to be hesitant, but in the end he nodded and agreed. "What's the purpose of doing this?" Li Longji admitted that he didn't understand. "To play together." Zhang Xiaobao went back to the original topic. "Okay, like a guessing game, or throwing a handkerchief behind me. Don't tell me that the two of you." As Li Longji spoke, he pointed at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Then he got up and left to arrange things. Xiaobei and the others, who were getting closer and closer to Hangzhou, had been living a good life recently. They could listen to Grandpa Fish's stories, and listen to the things that happened to Grandpa Fish when he was young. There were the roads he walked on, the rivers he crossed, the local customs, deceit. Climbing mountains was like picking stars, and people's lives were like grass. They could also learn calligraphy and painting from the Zhang Wang clan. They could also learn how to play the zither and play chess. They could play the pluck strings and play the 3 plum blossoms. After they finished learning, the 9 of them would teach each other and make up stories for Pan-er and her brother. The rest of the time, they would exercise and think about what was delicious. If they saw a place along the coast that was damaged, they would send a report to the nearest family business and ask them to pay for the repair. The local government would guide them, and they would report back. "Grandpa Fish, is the grassland really that dangerous?" "My family has a business on the grassland. I even flew back from the north. I didn't see any wolves, nor did I see any snakes that would kill people with a bite." At noon, Xiaobei and the others had just eaten. They walked back and forth on the deck of the ship, digesting the food while listening to Old Man Wang, who was also walking around, tell stories. When Old Man Wang talked about the grassland, Xiaobei couldn't connect the grassland he saw with what Grandpa Fish said. Xiaobei felt that Grandpa Fish should be talking about the stories, and not the real things that happened to Grandpa Fish when he was young. So he looked up and asked. Old Man Wang held Xiaobei's hand. The wrinkles on his face were piled together, but there was a smile on his face. His other hand was holding Xiao Yuan. He really wanted to hold Xiaohai's hand. Xiaohai was Qiao, Er's biological son, but he knew he couldn't do that. He could imagine that if he held Xiaobei's hand with one hand and Xiaohai's hand with the other, the 2 children would give up at the same time and stay far away from him, thinking that there was a difference between them. Yes, Xiaobei and Xiaohai would definitely think that way. They were much smarter than other children. Hearing Xiaobei's question, Old Man Wang continued to smile and said to Xiaobei, "When you left, you were in a large group. The wolves had already run away when they saw you. The snakes were also killed by people who were familiar with the grassland and became your food. We didn't have the same treatment as you back then. In a caravan, the big ones had a few hundred people, and the small ones only had a dozen or so people. They wore thick clothes, regardless of whether it was winter or summer. What they were most afraid of was encountering a pack of more than 30 wolves. When a caravan of more than a dozen people saw a big pack of wolves, they would first guard their horses, light a fire, and take out their weapons to be on guard at all times. It was better during the day, but at night, it was very likely that the caravan would not see the sun tomorrow. It was difficult to find traces of people who died on the grassland. When the wind blew and the grass grew, the grassland was still grassland, but there was no sign of people. I only encountered it once. That time. As Old Man Wang told the story, or rather, the things that he had experienced, a look of reminiscence appeared in his eyes. Xiao Bei and the others listened attentively, interrupting from time to ask a question. From the looks of it, the waves are the most powerful on the grassland. Xiao Bei concluded after listening to the story of the grassland. Xiao Yuan pursed her lips and said, "On the grasslands, humans are the most powerful. Didn't Big Brother and Big Sister say that there will be a day when humans will regret killing too many animals? It's not that they regret not having enough to eat or wear comfortable clothes, because they don't have enough of those animals. It's that when an animal is gone, the children in the future will never see it again. Perhaps it's nothing to some people, but many years later, will people still guess the animals of today like digging up the stones called dinosaurs? Okay, I admit that you're right. For the sake of younger children, we shouldn't kill all the animals. We should catch and raise them, just like the zoo in the capital. In fact, I really want to bring all the animals from everywhere to the capital. That way it will be very lively." Xiao Bei looked at Pan Er and the other two, and finally stopped arguing with Xiao Yuan. His eyes looked at the clouds floating in the sky as he slowly spoke, his eyes filled with yearning. Old Man Wang felt that his thinking could not keep up with the children. When he heard what Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan said, he asked puzzledly, "The animals of a place naturally have the habits of a place. If you bring them to the capital, will they still be able to live?" "Grandpa, you haven't been to the zoo in the capital?" "Oh, that's right. When we go back, we'll take you with us, and let you see what the zoo in the capital is like. We can enter all the places. As long as Uncle Emperor can enter, no one will dare to stop us. The things that have just arrived are usually not allowed to be seen by others, even if they spend more money. Before we came out, my elder brother and elder sister had people get a big white bear from a very cold place. Swimming is very fun. I've seen it before. I don't think I can gain any advantage from swimming with it. It's so big, and its swimming speed is so fast. Don't you think it's amazing? In order to keep them alive, we put ice on the places where they live. It's easy to do in the winter, but when it's summer, who knows how much ice money we have to spend every day. Also, they eat fish. Other than them, there are also small bears from very hot places. Then, we have to heat them up and specially get them food. Otherwise they won't eat. They're even more picky than me. Let me tell you there." The more Bebe talked, the happier he became. He let go of Old Man Wang's hand and kept gesturing. Pan Er could occasionally understand a sentence or two, so she was busy learning from Bebe. Old Man Wang had indeed not seen it with his own eyes. In fact, if he went to the capital, he could also see new animals that ordinary people could not see. However, he had not been to the capital in the past 1 or 2 years. He was busy elsewhere. During the new year, he came back to the house in Hangzhou with his master. First, there were many merchants in Hangzhou, and they could eat the food they got from overseas at any time. Second, Hangzhou was far from the capital. His master always had things in his heart that he couldn't let go. Sometimes he didn't dare to face them. Although he still had an official position in another department, he didn't like to go there personally to do things, so he left them to the people in the departments. Old Man Wang had also heard about the animals in the zoo from others. At that time, he already had a very good impression of them. Today, when he heard Bebe talk about them, he realized that those who saw the animals did not describe them very well. They missed a lot of things. For example, the habits of the animals, and how they looked when they ate, etc. "Bebe, why are you different from what others said?" Old Man Wang asked curiously. "Ah, different? No, that's what my brother and sister told us. They also divided the animals into different families. Some animals look different from the outside, but my brother and sister put them in the same category. Grandpa fishing. It won't take long for my brother and sister to arrive in Hangzhou. You'll know when you see them. They're so awesome. No matter what kind of things people catch from where, they can directly tell the general living habits of those things. For example, they sent a kind of small bear from the very south. Like what I just told you, my brother and sister call them koalas. They say that this kind of animal is the most fun to play with. If they don't have enough food and temperature, they can train them and other people can hold them. If there are 10 of them, and 9 of them are held by people, but one of them is not, that koala will be very sad. Don't you think it's like a human? Bebe made a gesture of holding a big cloth doll, as he spoke to Old Man Wang. Pan rushed over, and opened her arms to let Bebe hold her. When Bebe was done, she would find someone else to hold her. Such an action made Old Man Wang chuckle. While he was laughing suddenly, a shout came from the observation deck. Someone fell into the water. Where? Binoculars. When Bebe heard that someone had fallen into the water, he quickly asked the people next to him for binoculars. The thing he didn't want to see the most was someone drowning, because he was good at swimming. He took the binoculars and looked at the river. Bebe showed a puzzled expression. He pulled Xiao Yuan and held the binoculars in front of him and asked, Xiao Yuan, have you seen a drowning person like this before? Xiao Yuan looked and was also very puzzled. He shook his head and said, No, that person's rise and fall is too regular. Could it be that he is practicing drowning? I haven't practiced it before, but I heard from my brother and sister that in the future, when the medical conditions are improved, there will be a special navy. It is the Navy's drowning training program, learning how to drown under what conditions. That way, the survival rate after being saved will be much higher than the people who are not familiar with it. But I am afraid when I think about it, I don't have the courage to take the initiative to drown. Bebe pulled the binoculars back to her eyes and nodded. She said, Yes, this person is too interesting. Look at the shape of his mouth when he is shouting. It's clearly the word help. But why does his hand move downwards when he is shouting for help? After shouting, he immediately pushes up. It's tiring to shout for help at the same time. When we have time, let's try going into the water and see how long we can last. This is physical work. He has a good physique. When Old Man Wang heard the people on the observation deck shout that someone had fallen into the water, he became nervous. After interacting with Xiao Bei and the others for a long time, he realized that he had already reached a level where he could ignore life. But Xiao Bei and the others had changed his mind. Especially when Xiao Bei saved the earless child. That kind of serious respect and protection of life made her feel deeply moved. Therefore, when he heard that someone had fallen into the water, he wondered if Bebe was going to jump in to save him again. In the end, he saw Bebe and Xiao Yuan's indifferent attitude. After listening to their conversation, he finally understood what they meant. Hence, he took a pair of binoculars and looked over. After watching for more than 10 seconds, Old Man Wang had to admit that Bebe and Xiao Yuan's observation was very detailed. That person was really like what the two children said. His ups and downs were too regular. Furthermore, when he was shouting for help, his mouth was wide open. After such a long time he still did not sink. Hence he asked Bebe and Xiao Yuan, What do you think he is doing? Is there a need to ask? Waiting for me to save him. Do you think I'm stupid? I'm good at swimming. But what if he has a water-splitting thorn? It will be very dangerous if I get too close to him. Let's stop the boat and see how long he can shout for. Bebe was very smart at this moment and said disdainfully. Xiao Yuan also said, Why don't we get someone to throw a few stones over? Whoever is stronger can try and see if they can hit the target. It's fine if they're not accurate. Find a few more people and throw it a few more times. It's bound to hit him. When he's really drowning, we'll get someone to save him. Xiao Hai, who had been silent all this time, said at this time, Send someone to save him. See what he says when he comes back. We will wait on the boat and be careful. Let the people who are going to save him search him while they are saving him. Oh, that's fine too. He can't have appeared on our way by accident. Didn't brother and sister already send us a message? They said that if we meet people who are deliberately trying to get close to us, we should think of a way to bring them along to Jiang District. I thought that people would only appear after we arrived in Hangzhou. But I didn't expect to meet them now. Brother and sister are so awesome. How did they know that someone would appear? This is so fun. Bebe was not angry. Instead, she seemed very excited. The person below was still trying to drown. At this time, someone on the boat began to lower the boat, and then paddled it closer to the person. He did not jump into the water directly like before to save the person. Who knew if that person was preparing in the water with the idea of killing one person to break even and killing two to make a profit? Geezer Wang's eyes never moved away from the person who had fallen into the water. He wanted to see if he knew this person. If he knew him, it meant that the person had come for him, or something related to his family. If he did not know him, it was not easy to guess. He hoped that the person had come for him. Otherwise, on the way to Hangzhou, there would be many dangerous things that targeted Beibei and the other children. Just like that, Old Man Wang watched as the two rescue boats rowed to the man's side. He watched the man's actions. Beibei and the others were also watching. When they saw that the person was pulled to the boat weakly and immediately kowtowed, Beibei shook her head again and said, "It's too fake. If he is really drowning, he shouldn't be kowtowing now. He should be vomiting or coughing hard. His eyes should be red, and his nose should also be flowing out." Xiao Yuan laughed and said, "In a while we will pretend that he is drowning. Let's see what he wants to do." While the two of them were talking, the person had been helped up. He looked at the sky as if he had just survived a disaster. This appearance gained the approval of Beibei and the others. After a while, the two boats carrying the person were pulled up to the deck of the big boat. The person was also helped up to the top by others. When he saw Beibei, the person did something that made Beibei and the others puzzled. He actually raised his head and laughed. It was impossible to tell that he was drowning. Chapter 1046. Xiao Bei and the others were stunned by this person's laughter. They looked at each other and tried hard to recall the story that their brother and sister had told them. Finally, Xiao Bei thought of something and asked, Did you say that you were very satisfied that we were able to save you?" "Yes." This person nodded and shook his head in a very natural and unrestrained manner. His hair that had become messy in the water earlier splashed water all over Xiao Bei and the others' faces. This was because he was a little far away. The two people next to him were even hit in the face by his wet hair. These two people glared at him, but did not say anything. Others did not say anything, but he said, "Not bad. You are indeed good servants. Even if you encounter something that makes you uncomfortable, you can still endure silently. Good. Also, I am very satisfied with you children. After seeing me, you were able to remain calm. Furthermore, you were able to guess what I was thinking when I laughed out loud. As such, I did not wait for you for a few days in vain, nor did I waste the time soaking in the water for so long." As this person spoke, he reached out and moved his hair to the front. He grabbed it and stroked it from top to bottom. The water formed a small stream and splashed onto the deck. Xiao Bei pouted. If it were not for her status, she would have gotten someone to kick this person down. What was this? She had seen arrogant and shameless people, but she had never seen such a person. Xiao Bei sulked and did not speak. Old Man Wang was not willing. This was the precious child of the family. Although they were relatives, Xiao Bei's status was different. Even if they were just a little bit relatives, they had to treat her seriously. He coldly snorted and asked this person, "Who are you? Why did you lie to us to save you? Why don't you tell us the truth?" When this person heard the voice, he arrogantly turned his head to look at Old Man Wang. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he turned his head back. He said to Xiao Bei, "How can you have such an insensible servant in your house? What are you yelling for? If you talk to me like that again, I will get someone to kick you down. It is not up to you to say what my family does. I am asking you a question, so answer quickly. Do you think you are very smart? You know how to pretend to be drowning, so that we can save you? Have you heard the story of the boy who cried wolf? There was a child who liked to lie to others. Then he cried wolf. This way others would have to save him." Xiao Bei finally could not hold back. She stared at this person and told him the story of the boy who cried wolf. When she finished, Xiao Yuan continued, "You are the child who lied. Before you do anything, you never consider the feelings of others. I will give you one last chance. Speak." This person was stunned by Xiao Bei's story and Xiao Yuan's words. After a while he regained his composure. His eyes turned, and he suddenly smiled again. He praised, "Not bad, you're right. I didn't waste my efforts. I finally found someone who can inherit my legacy. Let me introduce myself. My surname is Hu, and my name is Liang. My ancestral home is in the Shannon East Road. I lost all my family when I was young. I could only think of ways to survive. I suffered a lot, but I also learned many skills. I can go up the mountain to fight tigers, and I can also go down the sea to catch dragons. I am a very big fish. Did you see me in the water just now? Do you think that I am very unusual? I am also familiar with all kinds of books, and I am proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. I know the way of metaphysics and the power of the stars. Unfortunately, for many years, I have been trying to find someone who I can pass on my skills to. I have long heard that you are extraordinarily intelligent, so I want to meet you. Why don't you quickly become my disciple? What are you waiting for?" In the process of introducing himself as Hu Liang, he raised his head again, looking very capable. Xiaobei sighed and did not say anything. He turned around and left. The others also walked towards the cabin. They were already speechless by this person. He was so good at bragging. If they did not have brothers and sisters, perhaps they would be a little curious when they saw such a person, and then let him perform. However, in the stories of the brothers and sisters, it was said that there was no need to pay attention to such people. They were either mentally ill or big liars. There was no need to give them any chance to perform. It was not worth it to waste their time. "Don't go. Let me finish. If you don't believe me, you can test me. See if I have many skills. If there is anything wrong, you don't need to chase me away. I will jump off the boat myself." Hu Liang was anxious. As he spoke, he wanted to chase after Xiaobei's group, but the people beside him grabbed his arm and could not break free. "Don't grab me. Let me tell you, if your master loses a chance to accept a talent because of you grabbing me, you will not be able to afford it." Hu Liang tried a few times, but in the end, he was not as strong as the protection team. After helplessly giving up, he angrily said to the people around him. The people standing in front of him and blocking the way laughed disdainfully and said, "Accept a talent? Do you think this is the spring and autumn period? Do you think others will value you just because you're crazy and act like you're capable? Let me tell you, our family lacks everything, but we don't lack people like you. The little things you know are nothing in our eyes. Hurry up and leave. Don't wait for us to get you off. Do you see the platform in front? Go there and jump down from the top. You won't fall on the deck below. Go, go." As the guard spoke, he followed the two people who were holding Hu Liang and pushed him towards the platform, letting Hu Liang struggle. Seeing that he was about to reach the platform, Hu Liang finally did not insist on his arrogant appearance. Instead, he cried and begged, Don't take me away. To be honest, I haven't eaten a full meal for 2 days. I don't have a single cent on me now. In the past few months, I've been looking for a job in countless places, but all of them look down on me like dogs. In the end, I often only get to eat 1 meal a day. And that's because people are kind enough to give it to me. From yesterday until now, I have only eaten half a steamed bun, and there is hair on it. I don't know what I ate wrong, but my stomach hurts. In desperation, I came here to wait for your ship, so that I can ask your doctor to take a look at me. Otherwise I will die sob. In the end, this person was already choking with sobs, which annoyed the 3 guards. However, the 3 guards still sent Hu Liang towards the platform. At this moment, a servant girl came out of the cabin and shouted, Wait, my mistress said that she is very heavy now, so she wants to accumulate good karma for the child. Fine, no matter if he is really capable or just a liar, it is not easy. Let him stay on the ship for the time being. After speaking to the 3 guards, the servant girl said to Hu Liang, My mistress is kind. Remember, you can stay on the ship, but you are not allowed to wander around. If your stomach is not feeling well, you can ask the doctor to treat you and get medicine. You have to eat whatever is given to you during meals. You can't ask about things casually, and you can't talk too much when others are talking. Otherwise, you will be pushed down. Thank you. I don't dare. I will listen to your mistress's arrangements. That. I wonder if there is anything to fill my stomach now. I am really too hungry. Hu Liang thanked and promised. He grinned and asked the servant girl for something to eat. Wait, in a while, let someone accompany you to wash up and then change your clothes. When the time comes, there will naturally be food sent to you. Also, didn't you say that you can read? Write down everything about yourself. It doesn't matter if you can't think of it now, slowly recall. Especially the things that happened in the past few months. If we find out that you are lying, then it won't be as simple as pushing you down. We will arrange a cabin for you, and you can only stay there. You are not allowed to come out without being called. Do you remember? The servant girl asked one by one and looked at Hu Liang, waiting for his answer. Yes, I remember all of them. I won't forget a single one. Thank you, I will definitely repay you well. Hu Liang nodded and promised again. The servant girl waved her hand, turned around, and walked away with light steps. The 3 guards looked at Hu Liang. The empty-handed one said slowly, "Since the mistress found you pitiful and let you stay on the ship for the time being, you can stay for a few days. Don't let us see you play tricks. Let's go, we will arrange it for you." The other 2 people still grabbed Hu Liang's arms, one on the left and one on the right, and walked towards a cabin. Xiaobei and the others did not stay idle. They immediately told their brother about this matter. The reason they let the person who called himself Hu Liang stay was because of the news from their brother and sister. Since he was already here, it was better to keep him by their side and observe him. No matter how powerful the other party was, he would not be able to play any tricks under their watch. When Zhang Xiaobao received the news, he Wangwan and Li Longji were looking at the new thing. It was a lifting device that was driven by an electric motor. The previous device used pulleys, but it required manpower. Just last night, the technicians who traveled with the fleet had perfected the design and manufacturing of the electric lift through experiments. They were going to follow Lu Zhou to design the railway. It just so happened that they had nothing else to do during the journey, apart from asking Wang Wan for advice when they encountered something they did not understand. Most of the time, they were busy with their own design ideas, trying to turn their theories into reality. The principle of the lift was very simple. When it was energized, it would rotate, and it would drive the capstan to wind the steel wire. Then there would be another button. This button was a gear that worked in the opposite direction and controlled the gear change. This thing itself wasn't too difficult. The difficult part was the precision of the meshing of the gears. What he was making now was a simple elevator. In the future, it would be used on a steam engine ship to allow the ship to easily move forward and backward, and also control the speed. In this way, when the ships turned or when they were in formation, it would be of great help and increase the turning speed. Li Longji was looking at the new lift that lifted a small boat up and down. No matter how he thought about it, he felt it was a very simple thing. He was just about to ask Zhang Xiaobao why he spent so much effort to make this thing when he received news from Xiaobei. Quick, Xiaobei's news is here. Let me have a look. When Li Longji heard the news from the people in the inner court, he was even more enthusiastic than Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. As he spoke, he snatched the piece of information from Xiaobei. He glanced at it before he raised his hand and showed Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan a thumbs up. He said, "Amazing. You two really guessed it. What do you think is going on over there?" "Someone went to look for my mother?" Zhang Xiaobao played along and asked. "Yes, that's right. It's a crazy person. Tell me, who do you think this person is? What's his purpose?" Li Longji asked as he waved the piece of paper in his hand. Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand and gestured for Li Longji to take the piece of information. He said, "Xiaobei and the others are still 2 days away from Hangzhou. I originally thought that they would arrange for someone to wait in Hangzhou. I didn't expect that they would arrange for someone to wait there. Very good." After taking the piece of information and reading it, Zhang Xiaobao raised the corners of his mouth. He said to Wang Wan, who had also read the piece of information, "This person is not ordinary. He actually knows a bit about psychology. Unfortunately, he chose the wrong person." Wang Wan also smiled and said, "That's right. He used a series of actions to make others lower their guard against him and think of him as a clumsy opponent. In fact, he knew very well that if he stopped the boat and waited for help in the water, he would definitely be exposed. He used those very fake actions to judge Xiaobei and the others' perception of him. From there, he guessed to what extent Xiaobei and the others were guarding against him. When he got on the boat, he took the initiative to say that he was faking it. His purpose was to observe the reactions of Xiaobei and the others in our inner courtyard, so that he could use the most appropriate identity to deal with them. In the end, he described himself as very pitiful in order to further test the extent to which Xiaobei and the others understood his identity. This kind of trick was useful for others, but it was useless against our inner courtyard. No matter what he did, the inner courtyard would not lower their guard against him. If he wanted to pass the information to his accomplices, then there was only one way. When he came over, he had already told his accomplices that if he didn't come down from the boat, it meant that we were guarding against him. He would wait on the boat for an opportunity and tell his accomplices not to contact him again. Li Longji was listening to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan talk on the side. He was very surprised. He didn't expect that such a simple matter would be so complicated by the two of them. Thus he asked, "If that's the case, what's the use of him staying on the boat? Won't he still be able to pass the information back if he's chased off? Doesn't he know how tight the defenses of the Zhang family and Wang family are? He can't possibly think that he has the ability to successfully make a move against Xiaobei and your mother under layers of surveillance and protection, right?" Gao Lishir, who had followed them to look at the lift, couldn't figure out what Hu Liang was thinking. If he put himself in a dangerous situation and didn't do anything, wouldn't he be a fool? Then he said, "When he gets on Xiaobei's boat, he will definitely change into someone else's clothes and then take a bath. He won't be able to carry anything on him. Even if he wants to poison him, he won't be able to find an opportunity. Sigh, this kind of opponent isn't difficult to deal with." Wang Wan didn't say anything and signaled for Zhang Xiaobao to explain. Zhang Xiaobao pondered for a moment and explained, "Actually, there are other ways to carry things. For example, if you want to put something in your mouth, you can also use a kind of glue to make a bag. You can put poison in it and eat one end into your stomach, leaving a string on the other end, then tie it to your teeth. When you want to use it, you can just spit it out from your stomach. However, I'm sure that Hu Liang won't do such a thing. The inspection at my house won't miss this. We'll check his entire body from head to toe, inside and out, even the area behind his butt. Even if he has a scar on his body, we'll check it carefully to see if he cut his skin and stuffed something inside. When it's healed, he can use it at a critical moment. Then he should have a motive." Li Longji voiced out the doubt in his heart. He has a few motives. First, he wants to alert the enemy and put us in a tense situation at all times to see how we react. Second, he wants us to put more of our attention on the assassination of Xiaobei and my mother, thus neglecting other aspects. Third, he wants them to adjust their strategy. Some plans should be changed. For example, when they were waiting for our ship to reach Hangzhou, they disguised themselves as dock workers, or even were dock workers themselves. We told them that they couldn't make a move, and that our defense was too tight. Finally, he thinks that no matter what we do to him, no matter how we pretend to be on guard against him, and no matter how we change our habits, he can get useful information from it. These are all the reasons I can think of. He even thinks that he alone will restrain the energy of many of us. This is also a waste of manpower, haha. Zhang Xiaobao guessed and said a few motives, then smiled indifferently. Li Longji and Gao Lishir suddenly understood, and at the same time, their expressions became solemn. They thought that if the opponent casually sent a person, and he was so powerful, then how powerful was the person hiding in the dark? They wondered what the result would be this time. The main thing was that Great Tang would lose a lot of things, including lives and money. Li Longji sighed and said, "If it weren't for the news from there today, I would have thought that the Jiangnan West Road incident was more of a coincidence, and that someone was really going to make a big move. However, through this Hu Liang, Xiaobao, you and Cuckoo have guessed correctly. There is a power behind this. Don't you think that great Tang will suffer a great loss? Wang Wan continued and comforted, Your Majesty, don't worry. There won't be a big problem. They don't want to harm ordinary people just like us. They won't go to other countries just to poison people. It's meaningless. In that case, even if they choose a small river and throw a large amount of poison into a shallow well, or buy pigs and put the poison into the pork, these methods won't have much effect. Even if they opened a restaurant and poisoned the people who ate there, it would only be a small portion of the population. It was far too small compared to the people of the Great Tang. Their main goal is to disrupt Great Tang and make the people lose confidence in Great Tang. They want to pull me and Zhang Xiaobao down from the altar. They haven't made a big move yet, and they are still probing. That's why Xiaobao and I arranged that series of things to confuse them. So that's the case. Right, that's how it should be. Their goal is to get rid of the two of you. Right now, almost everyone knows how important the two of you are to Great Tang. If the two of you were to lose your standing in the eyes of the people, the impact on Great Tang would be unimaginable. That's why they schemed so hard to deal with the two of you. However, Xiaobei arrived at the right time. This emperor guesses that they haven't finished setting the trap yet. In order to deal with the manager of the Great Tang Bank, Xiaobei and the others wanted the manager to take them seriously, so they started a rumor. As Li Longji spoke, he began to think about many things. He realized that this matter was truly very interesting. Most likely, the people hiding in the shadows didn't want to act so early, and hadn't finished setting the trap yet. However, Xiaobei and the others had released the rumor. If they didn't act now and waited for the rumor to pass, they wouldn't have enough strength to make a move. In the end, once they acted, not only did they fail to threaten or harm the status of the Great Tang Bank, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan, they even helped the two of them consolidate their positions. This could be said to be a miscalculation. What made the other side even more uncomfortable was that so many people had gone to save money and wanted to make a move against a country as large as a family. The most worrying thing was the lack of unity. Just like the wolf pack, their individual strength wasn't so strong that they were invincible, but wolves were more dangerous than tigers. They were even more dangerous than ordinary armies. An army would collapse before the main commander died. It was too difficult to make a wolf pack collapse before the leader died. Gao Lishur was the happiest about this. He chuckled and said, The eyes of the common people are bright. Yes, Xiaobei and the others often say this. They know who the Great Tang can't do without. Naturally, His Majesty is the most important. However, the common people also know that His Majesty isn't a big problem. What he is most worried about is the Great Tang Bank. Thus, when they were saving money, they said that the Great Tang Bank can't fall. And neither can the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families. Because the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families have fallen, His Majesty will stand at the forefront. There will be no one in front of him to block all kinds of things. Xiaobao, you should think about it carefully. It's best if you make the other side suffer so much that they can't even take back their money. I've thought about it, but I need to know who the other side is first. Let's send a plan to Xiaobei and the others. Let them leak as many secrets as possible, and let Hu Liang know. Zhang Xiaobao's expression was relaxed. It wasn't that he wasn't worried, but that he had long been used to facing all kinds of pressure and difficulties. If there really wasn't any difficulty, he wouldn't be able to display his abilities. Let him know. Li Longji was puzzled. Yes, let him know a bit more. He actually didn't come here to hurt anyone, because he knows that he can't hurt anyone. The only person he can hurt is himself. He will definitely be very obedient on the ship. He will be so obedient that he will do whatever others want him to do. He will be so obedient that he won't ask, say, look, or hesitate. Wouldn't that be letting him off too easily? If he knows a bit more, he will be anxious and want to spread the news, even if he has to sacrifice himself. But what we need to do is let him hear a lot of secrets, but not let him spread them, and even more so not let him die. He has bad intentions, so how can I let him have an easy time? Zhang Xiaobao very naturally raised his hand and placed it on his face, flicking it over and over again. When Wang Wan, Li Longji, and Gao Lishur saw Zhang Xiaobao's actions, they all silently mourned for that person called Hu Liang. Xiaobao, it's been a long time since you've had such bad intentions, right? We remember that when you were scheming against the rich people of Great Tang, you didn't do such a thing either. We really miss it. Li Longji patted Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder and said, "Oh Ichi, I'm not bad. I'm a good person. I'm the kind of person who walks to hell on my own after death. And even the king of hell is too embarrassed to accept me. He says that I'm too kind, and I shouldn't go to hell." Zhang Xiaobao's hand changed from flicking to rubbing, and he rubbed his face a few times. "The king of hell is sending you to hell to ruin him. We can even imagine how the infernal judge's hand would tremble when he wrote your name. Tell me, what's the use of this elevator that your technicians came up with? I don't think it's a big deal." Li Longji patted Zhang Xiaobao's head again and pointed at the elevator. Wang Wan covered her mouth and snickered, helping to explain, "Your Majesty, the elevator isn't very useful. Even if there isn't an elevator at the docks right now, it won't take too much time to transport goods. However, the elevator isn't just about the engagement of the gears. It involves the strength of the steel of the gears, the compression resistance and regularity of the ball bearings, and the conversion between self-supporting and semi-self-supporting forces. In fact, the elevator was developed in preparation for the lathe. Right now, we have a lathe driven by an electric motor, but if the processed object is too sturdy, the lathe's effect will be reduced. We can't just use the lathe to experiment directly. It's a waste, and it's also very dangerous. Therefore, by collecting data on the elevator and then using it on the lathe, we include the problem of the strength and precision of the different force conversion devices that act on the processed object. It goes like this. Normal force conversion is done through gears. What does a gear do? It embodies the simplest principle of a lever. But normal levers only have a single pivot point, and it's a problem of receiving and supporting forces. However, if we use gears and shafts, we can use this method to create a two-axis interaction, or even a three-axis or more axis cooperation. When this technology is completed, it won't be using the pivot of the lever itself as the center. Instead, during the linkage process, it will be using multiple angles to make the processed object be at the center. In this case, stop, don't talk to me anymore. I don't understand. Now I know that this seemingly useless elevator is actually very useful, right? Quickly go and send a message to Xiaobei and the others." Li Longji was confused. He knew that Wang Wan had already given him a lot of face by not using too many terms and explaining it very simply. However, if he didn't come into contact with this kind of thing and didn't learn it, he wouldn't be able to understand it no matter how simple it was. He just had to change the topic. He took Gao Lisher and hid far away. He found a quiet place to think about what kind of power the person behind this was. As for the industrial side, it was not his business. Actually, after passing the elevator test, we can make the mold for the finished product. Cold forging is very useful sometimes, especially when making sharp objects. Sigh, it's a pity that people don't listen. Wang Wan wanted to tell more about this to others, but she couldn't do anything if they didn't listen. She could only turn around and look at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao replied with a smile. "Honey, please tell me, I'm listening. I haven't learned systematically before, so I don't know much about this. After learning from you, there are too many things to learn. Tell me about it, and I'll see if it can be used in scams. It's very useful to fool people. What's there to say to you? I'm tired of being together with you every day. Tonight, you can sleep somewhere else. I'll have some peace and quiet by myself." After Wang Wan finished speaking, she left Zhang Xiaobao with a beautiful figure. Zhang Xiaobao scratched his head. Why did this happen? It seems that I have to control myself in the future. It won't do for a long time. Alright, I'll rest for one night. I have to find a few people who are willing to listen to her lectures. If you don't let me sleep, don't think about sleeping in that room. We'll work for one night, and we can sleep together in the morning tomorrow. Yes, you have to keep your promise. Zhang Xiaobao was a man of his word. As expected, he didn't sleep for the whole night. Wang Wan also didn't sleep. There were always people coming over to ask about the physics lessons. She didn't know why everyone had questions today, and they were more concentrated than usual. Only the technicians knew the reason. Zhang Xiaobao went over and asked them about their skills one by one. When they answered, he continued to ask around the question in detail. In the end, their grasp of the theory was different. Therefore, the technicians said that they couldn't answer. Zhang Xiaobao pointed away for them. He said that Wang Wan asked him to come over to help the technicians learn more as soon as possible. He would be responsible for asking the questions and play a role in guiding them. Wang Wan would wait in the cabin for others to learn. In the end, the technicians went. They were very grateful to Wang Wan, who was so sleepy that she kept yawning, but didn't dare to change her clothes and sleep. Hu Liang was in a similar situation as Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He also realized that the situation in front of him was different from what he had imagined. At first, Hu Liang thought that when he got on the ship, he wouldn't make any unnecessary movements when the other party clearly doubted him. Then when they arrived in Hangzhou, he would summarize what he saw, heard, and even the types and tastes of the dishes he ate. This would allow him to further understand the Zhang family and the Wang family. This afternoon, he had already struggled in the water. It was not easy to control his body to make large movements in the water while shouting for help. Then he got on the ship. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried. Even if he was prepared to be killed at any time, he didn't want to die quickly. Otherwise, he would be really stupid. After tossing around for a while, he was also checked inside and out. Even his teeth were not spared. What was even more infuriating was that whoever checked his lower body used too much strength. It still hurt even now. When he was finally done and started to eat, he realized that he was eating dinner, not the time between lunch and dinner, when he said that he was hungry. The other party considerately came over and asked him what he wanted to eat. He even held a book. Oh, it was a menu. There were thousands of dishes in it, and asked him to choose. Just looking at the menu was enough to make him dazzled. He finally chose a few dishes. When the dishes were served, he realized that the amount was too large. The other party said that he must eat all the dishes he ordered. Otherwise, it would be a waste and a heinous act. Then he could only eat. After eating, he realized that he was so full that he didn't even dare to move. Speaking of which, the doctor was really amazing. He could guess that she was stuffed, so he got someone to send over some medicine to help with digestion. Once she took it, it really did help with digestion. Originally she was stuffed, but now she had diarrhea. After struggling for a while, it was already 4 in the morning. He finally wanted to sleep for a while. But what kind of cabin was this? Could they not make the wooden boards between the cabins so thin? In the end, he heard voices. Now there was still voices. It was endless. Hu Liang lay on the shop in thought. At the same time, his ears couldn't help but listen to the movements of the 3 maidservants in the cabin next to him. Ask me another question. I love it when people ask me questions, okay? A maidservant's voice sounded. Hu Liang knew that the person who spoke was called Yi. When he first heard her speak, he felt that she was not bad. Her voice was sweet, but it was so sweet for 3 hours. Who could stand it? There was another one called Zier. Together with Yi, who gave people problems, there were a total of 3 people. The 3 maidservants on night duty had just been switched over 4 hours ago. There was still 1.5 more hours before they had to switch over to sleep. This was what they said. It meant that the maidservants of the Zhang family and Wang family would change shifts for 6 hours. It was very short. The maidservants of other families usually didn't receive such treatment. Occasionally they would take a break. If the master found out, it would be a big deal. The treatment was good. No wonder they were all loyal. He noted this down even if it was fake. Alright. You're always like this. I don't have many questions. Next time, if you want me to ask alone, I won't be on night duty with you. Tell me there's a kind of leisure exercise. When the upper part is happy, the lower part is in pain. When the upper part exerts strength, the lower part is bleeding. What kind of exercise is this? When Hu Liang heard Yuer's words, he wanted to curse. You're a girl, yet you're shamelessly asking such a question. Let me think. Yuer, don't tell me first. What kind of exercise is it? When the upper part is happy, the lower part is in pain. I can't think of anything. Just tell me. Yier's voice sounded. At this moment Zier spoke. You're so stupid. It's fishing, right? Only people with impure thoughts would think of something else. Your face is red, yet you're still pretending that you don't know. Oh my God, my thoughts are impure. What kind of question is this? You're cheating me. Hu Liang smacked his head and mumbled. In the end, his voice was accidentally heard by the person next door. Yi Er's unique sweet voice immediately sounded. Look at you, your thoughts aren't pure either. Eavesdropping on us. You're a man, yet you're thinking about dirty things all day. Tui, close your ears. Hu Liang opened his mouth and wanted to explain that the wooden plank was too thin. He thought about it and decided not to. With the help of his hand, he successfully closed his ears. As soon as he blocked his ears, he reacted. How could he listen if he blocked his ears? Like a thief, he quietly let go of his ears and perked them up again. This doesn't count. Who asked you, to think of something else? Another one. Could you, say another one? Yi Er's voice sounded again. Let's not talk about it anymore. Let's talk about something else. Tell me, did we really come here with Xiaobei and the others to catch someone? I think we're going to Hangzhou to meet our relatives. Yi changed the topic and talked about something else. In my opinion, it's definitely not. Do you know? Xiaobei and the others want to go to Jiangzhou. There's going to be a railway passing by there. Xiaobei and the young masters are going to open a shop. The officials in Jiangzhou are really bad. I heard from Madam that there's going to be trouble in Jiangzhou. It was young Master Xiao Bao and young Lady Cuckoo who told Madam that many people will die this time. You definitely don't know what the bad guys want to do in Jiangzhou. No, Jiangnan West Road. Right? It's scary to say it. They've set up a big trap there that involves all kinds of things. Fortunately, young Master Xiao Bao and young Lady Cuckoo have already come up with a plan to deal with it. When Hu Liang heard this, he shivered. He pressed his ears against the wooden plank and narrowed his eyes at the same time so that he could hear more clearly. I really don't know. What is it? You tell us. We promise not to tell anyone else. Ye's sweet voice sounded. Actually, it doesn't matter if others hear it. Before dinner, young Master Xiao Bao sent a message saying that he wants Hu Liang, who is new to the ship, to listen to our secret and find an opportunity to let him go. He wants him to spread the news so that young master can beat us at our own game. Not to mention anything else, young Lady Cuckoo's army has already made a move. Even the emperor is not idle. Our Tang Empire is going to make a big move and catch all the bad guys in one fell swoop. Yi continued. Hu Liang felt very depressed when he heard this. He really couldn't tell if Yi was telling the truth. If it was true, it meant that the other party had 3 maids. They were probably telling him. What was their purpose? But it was fake. His people were indeed going to make a big move. He just didn't know where Wang Wan's army was sent. What kind of big move was the Emperor of Tang Empire referring to? At this moment, Zier asked. If we tell Hu Liang directly, will he believe us? Why don't we speak louder? He's next door. I believe he can hear us. We've completed the mission, right? Guess, did he cover his ears? Impossible. It was the sweet voice again. I know what kind of person he is the most. He eavesdrops on a girl's conversation. He's so flirtatious. He pretends to be honest on the surface, but he's so flirtatious in his heart. If you don't believe me, why don't we ask him? Hu Liang, did you hear that? If you didn't, snort. If you did, knock on the wooden board. Hu Liang gritted his teeth and persisted. He told himself that no matter what the other party said, he couldn't admit that he was eavesdropping. Even if a girl spoke without thinking carefully, he had to bear with it. He happened to hear the other party's question and snorted. Pa! A crisp sound rang out. Hu Liang had slapped himself. Look, he heard it. He's snorting. Her voice was still as sweet as honey. Sigh. Hu Liang sighed. He covered his mouth with his left hand and pressed his right hand on his left hand. He looked like he wouldn't make a sound even if his nose was blocked, and he suffocated to death. I think he's regretting it now. He's a very smart person, but he still did stupid things. Hu Liang, don't worry, we won't laugh at you. Continue listening. We really won't laugh at you. Why don't I sing you a song? It's the kind of love song that Ah Lang sang for Ame. Just listening to her voice made one look forward to how sweet the song would be. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.